Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Waste power. I can get stronger just by breathing. Chapter 61. Arnold tried his best to activate his soul power and supernatural powers. He wanted to bet the victory of this battle on this attack. 8 desolate earth-splitting axe. Boom. With a loud roar, the long-handled double moon battle axe in Arnold's hand slammed into the ground. The entire ground of the arena began to crack, raising clouds of dust. 8 visible shock waves, centered on the defensive axe, tore through the metal bricks on the arena and rushed towards Su Ji-yu. Su Gu's eyes condensed slightly, feeling the huge power contained in each shock wave, and immediately used the variable frequency step to avoid the first wave of attacks. And the 8 shock waves seemed to be controlled by remote control. After being avoided, they turned their direction in an instant and launched a sneak attack from behind. Su Ji-yu did not move his eyes, and only used the sound identification method to identify the direction and position of the attack, just like a dragon playing in the water, and avoided the attack again. Seeing the almighty god of war consuming the energy of the shock wave with a casual pace and playing with the opponent's desperate attack, the fans of the almighty god of war in the audience were excited. As graceful as a startled swan and as graceful as a swimming dragon, this sentence describes the current Brother Wushan. Brother Wushan is invincible. After launching that attack, Arnold's physical strength was almost exhausted. As long as the power of these 8 shock waves is exhausted, Brother Wushan can be directly declared the victory. At this moment, these fans were in the highest mood. After experiencing the ups and downs of this battle, they finally saw the dawn of victory. You still exposed a flaw. And at this moment, a voice came from 5 meters away from Su Ji-yu. A figure walked out of the smoke and dust raised by the shock wave. It was Arnold. He used the smoke and noise raised by the shock wave to cover his figure, and unknowingly approached Su Ji-yu. And now the 8 shock waves have formed an encirclement and began to quickly double-team the two. The only way to escape was blocked by Arnold's body. Arnold's face, which looked like a machine, showed a rare cunning smile. He never expected that the 8 desolate earth-splitting axe could end the almighty martial god. What he had to do was to get close to the almighty martial god, restrict his movement, and then meet the impact of this big move with him. He was a force-protecting warrior, while the almighty martial god was hammered to spit blood after taking his axe. At the same time, he had a much greater chance of surviving this move. This battle, Arnold, won. At this moment, the expressions on everyone's faces became dull. They didn't expect Arnold to do so much for victory, and he didn't hesitate to use this kind of fighting style of mutual destruction. Live to die, Arnold created the dawn of victory in desperation. Cao Rui looked at the situation in the arena, and in an instant, the situation turned around, and the whole person jumped up from the commentary seat excitedly. He felt that he was okay again. Boom! 8 shock waves from different directions rushed towards Su Ji-yu like a bulldozer. He looked at Arnold, who was blocking his way. At this last moment, he still held the soul-gathering pistol and started shooting several times. Bang, bang, bang. It was still such an accurate shooting, and the soul bullets fired did not cause any harm to Arnold. Cao Rui saw that the last counterattack of the almighty martial god had no effect, and he had already determined who the winner of this battle was. He said quickly with his sharp lips, "As a long-range player, the almighty martial god has a very solid foundation. This is something I didn't expect before the game. But if he doesn't act so recklessly in battle, and is a little more serious and respectful to his opponent, maybe." At this moment, Cao Rui's words stopped abruptly, and he noticed something wrong. After being hit by the last soul bullet of the almighty martial god, Arnold's eyes widened and his body froze in place. He was breathing heavily, his body was like a deflated balloon, his soul power was constantly discharged. The body without soul power support began to become weak. Arnold even seemed to have a hard time holding the defensive axe. He changed from holding the battle axe with one hand to holding it with both hands, and finally he couldn't hold his weapon and dropped it to the ground. Arnold stretched out his hand desperately, as if he wanted to touch the figure of the almighty god of war, but he could only hold it in the air. It's fun to fight with you. Attack the enemy 3 points, keep 7 points for yourself, and you should keep more soul power for yourself for the last attack. From the battle with the opponent, Su Ji-yu felt some fun and gave him a word of guidance. Then the pistol sounded again, and Arnold, who had lost his soul power protection, was shot this time. Arnold lowered his head and looked at the place where he was shot. It's the heart again, so disgusting. 8 shock waves that tore the entire airspace arena to pieces. At the moment Arnold fell, the distance between him and Su Jiyu was only half a meter. The shock wave lifted the corner of Su Gu's martial arts uniform, and then dissipated under the power of the virtual spiritual world. The winner, Almighty Martial God. Looking at the figure standing on the field, all the audience in the martial arts arena, including the fans of Almighty Martial God, fell into a long silence. What happened just now? Arnold was almost close to victory at the last moment. Why did his soul power dissipate at the last moment? Even the self-proclaimed knowledgeable commentator Cao Rui frowned at this moment. He couldn't figure out what happened. After a moment of silence, there were bursts of whispers. One explanation began to circulate. Do you think it's possible because something happened to Arnold's real body in reality? You mean, because the physical body affects the actions of the conscious body? Has such a thing ever happened in the martial arts dojo? There is indeed a precedent for this, and it is very similar to Arnold's situation. The Jodian cultivation technique that was running on its own suddenly collapsed, resulting in the dissipation of soul power. The Almighty Martial God's luck is a bit better. The final situation just now was quite unfavorable to him. The surrounding discussions reached the ears of the 3 Stark family members watching. Luck. Anderson looked at the arena and listened to the discussion in the audience, with a sneer on his face. He had fought against all 2 warriors in this battle, and there was no way that a little bit of luck could determine their outcome in the fight between them. Boss, what do you think? Schiller looked at Kyuya next to him seriously and said. There are some clues, but I'm not sure yet. Kyuya said with burning eyes. You both videotaped this battle. Give me the video of the battle later and I will review it myself. The battle is over, but the debate about the battle continues. Where is the commentator? What did the commentator Cao Rui say? Cao Rui replayed the move of the Almighty God of War on the live broadcast, and watched it back and forth dozens of times. The final conclusion is that he didn't understand it. This rubbish. Was it because the physical body in reality caused an accident that led to the accident of the consciousness, which ultimately made the Almighty God of War the winner of this battle? Or was it that the Almighty God of War's last blow had some kind of power that others could perceive, and defeated Arnold in one blow? The video comment area with 2 views on this battle was arguing crazily. The quarrel brought heat, and the heat attracted some passers-by to come in and watch. When these people watched the battle video and joined the battlefield, the balance of the debate between the 2 sides began to tilt. It seems that those who like the Almighty Martial God are all martial arts idiots who have never been exposed to martial arts. There are too many problems in this battle, not only the last shot, but also the one that shattered the energy shield. It has been confirmed through continuous playback that the bullets fired by the Almighty Martial God do not have penetrating abilities. Please answer the fans of the martial arts idiots, how can the soul-gathering pistol bullets without superpowers shatter the energy shield? What can these idiots who only follow the trend mindlessly and chase after martial artists who don't miss a single face like chasing after a star have to say? Most people who watched the battle video later chose to believe that the victory of the Almighty Martial God was due to Arnold's state, not his own strength. Gradually, except for the various personal websites of the Martial God's home, which were relatively peaceful with Momingji's maintenance. In the comment area of major video forums, the black fans of the Almighty Martial God began to gain the upper hand. Many viewers who were still wavering in the middle watched the brainwashing comments constantly swiping the screen, and the balance in their hearts gradually shifted. Could it be that, as these people said, the Almighty Martial God was able to win this battle, relying on luck? A bunch of brainless people. They just follow the trend and say a few words. Ma Mingji looked at the comments on the website and cursed fiercely. Just when he was annoyed by this matter and was trying to find a way to deal with it, Ma Mingji suddenly saw that the ID called Kang Yu Wolf, which was newly registered in the Martial God's house, uploaded a video. He watched the video carefully, and his eyes widened as he watched it, and then he immediately pinned the video directly on the website. Soon more and more Almighty Martial God fans saw the video, and their reactions to the video were exactly the same as Ma Mingji's. This is an analysis video of the battle between the Almighty Martial God and Arnold. And it is extremely hardcore. It is so hardcore that the power output and soul power fluctuation index of each attack of the two sides in this battle are estimated and marked. It is so hardcore that every tactical action of both sides will be analyzed for its purpose and battle game behind it. It's really amazing. Such a detailed and high-quality replay video can be produced in such a short time. Many martial arts universities can't do it. We still have such talents in the House of Martial God. I want to see who will say we are martial arts blind in the future. Brothers, how many minutes and seconds did Brother Wushan break the energy shield? And how many minutes and seconds is the analysis of the last blow? Give me the coordinates and I will take off directly. Fans are anxious to see how the big guys view the most controversial part. The progress bar is pulled. The close battle between the almighty martial god and Arnold was slowed down at a very high rate, and the trajectory of each bullet fired by the almighty martial god was marked by remodeling. Everyone was shocked. This is simply a work of art. And looking at the slow motion playback, the trajectory line marked in red, these people noticed something wrong. Accurate, it's really too accurate. How many shots did Brother Wushan shoot at that position? At the same time, a mechanical sound that could not distinguish between men and women and without too many emotional ups and downs sounded in the video. Many people can only see the shot that shattered the energy shield, but they don't know that for this shot, the almighty martial god fired more than 300 bullets with an error accuracy of no more than 3 centimeters in the same area of the energy shield as a prelude. Not to mention that in order to cover up his tactical intentions, he gave up the most classic kite fighting tactics of long-range warriors and chose a more risky close combat with the warriors. And in close combat, in order to prevent Arnold from noticing the bullets that have been shot at his chest, the almighty martial god may need to shoot 3 to 5 bullets for each bullet that hits his chest to guide his sight. I can assert that those who can achieve this kind of long-range technology are rare in any martial arts university. After listening to the explanation in the video, those ordinary fans finally understood how the almighty martial god shot through the energy shield, and they couldn't help but exclaimed in the barrage. Brother Wushan is really awesome. Look at the ballistic model built by Boss Yulang, it's simply a work of art. Such a thing was improvised during the battle. I'm going to put the video link on other websites. I want to see what the trolls can do. Don't worry about those people, they are all brainless. Also, how did Brother Wushan shoot that shot that destroyed Arnold's body at the last moment? What happened? Some fans of Wushan's house posted the video link on other forums, while others pulled the progress bar of the video to watch what happened carefully. This video came out much later than the review videos I usually use to train my team members. The most fundamental reason is the last shot. At the beginning, I only had some vague inspirations and was not sure. I played it back twice before I was finally sure. While speaking, Yulang's mechanical voice paused, as if it was a bit incredible that such a thing happened to him. The martial arts practiced by martial artists will be very different because they have to adapt to different martial arts professions, and the running of the Jodian will inevitably leave a weak point. If you hit those weak points, it will have a miraculous effect. The almighty martial god shot the weak point of Arnold's martial arts and defeated him in one fell swoop. Hearing this explanation, the viewers of the video felt a little confused. Is it that simple? When melee warriors engage in melee combat, isn't it a basic operation to sense the opponent's weak point? But then these people reacted. The martial god brother hit the weak point with a pistol. Can the difficulty of hitting the weak point with your hand close to the body and shooting it with a soul-gathering pistol be the same? When everyone replayed the video of the almighty martial god again, they felt awe from the bottom of their hearts when they saw him calmly raising his gun in the face of the terrifying shock wave. What kind of long-range warrior is this? It seems a little wrong. This guy's heavy equipment and warrior level are also very high. When I first watched it, I also fell into a thinking error. Indeed, few long-range warriors would attack such weaknesses. After all, long-range warriors need to be with their guns day after day, and it is difficult to have the same sensitivity to the weaknesses of the skills as melee warriors. Most of the time, as a long-range warrior, there is really no need to practice in this aspect. After all, the destructive power is enough. This is probably only a warrior like the almighty martial god who can greatly cross the martial arts profession, and can imagine and use it. Exclusive tactics. It is difficult for ordinary people to reproduce it. At the end of this video, the Blue Moon Wolf ended with this sentence. There was no nonsense throughout the whole process, all dry goods analysis, and with the spread of the fans of the almighty martial god, it quickly became popular. Hee, are you the ones who laugh at our Wuxian fans for being blind to martial arts? You guys should make a video like this too. Ha ha ha, don't make it hard for them. If they had brains, they wouldn't question Wuxian. Call, why don't you shout? Please shout again so I can hear it. At this time, the fans of the almighty Wuxian finally felt proud and returned all the ridicule they had received before. Some haters immediately stopped and deleted their previous replies, not giving others a chance to respond. Some others continued to shout. This video came from your Wuxian house. Isn't it just the words of your fans? How credible is it? That's right, we have to see how Arnold explains it. As a real martial artist, Arnold probably doesn't have time to care about the mean tricks of these villains. Seeing that they couldn't win by reasoning, these people immediately started to use Arnold's identity as a banner. It has been emphasized that the one-sided explanation has no credibility at all. The victory of the almighty god of war was just luck. These words made the god of war fans angry. What a bunch of troublemakers. It feels like stepping on shit to be involved with them. Ma Mingji cursed. Respond. Why did Arnold respond, who belittled himself and raised the status of his opponent who just defeated him? He didn't plan to pay attention to those haters. He was too lazy to do such things as throwing belly-proof fans. Just as Ma Mingji was about to continue the forum, another video was updated in the video area. He looked at the water he was drinking and sprayed it out. Arnold really responded, and it was on our god of war's home. In the video, Arnold's face, which looked like a robot, rarely mentioned the name of his opponent in an extremely humble tone. Thank you, almighty god of war, for your advice to me at the last moment of this battle. His words made me think for a long time after the battle, and I benefited a lot. When he said this, it was from the heart. The sentence, attack the enemy 3 points, keep 7 points for yourself, directly broke through the bottleneck that Arnold had been in. He had a hunch that when he understood the sentence left by the almighty martial god, his strength would be greatly improved. For those who want to deliberately discredit the almighty martial god, I have limited ability and can't control you on the internet, but don't use my name. And don't let me meet you in real life. The last sentence Arnold said had a vague threat. Feeling Arnold's admiration for the almighty martial god in his words, those who were still clamoring just now completely stopped. Moon, Stark University. Anderson and Schiller looked at Kei Yuya, who stayed up all night in the training room and was still watching the almighty martial god's battle video, with a complicated look on their faces. Others didn't know who the ID of the Kang Yu Wolf was, but how could they not know? The replay analysis video that helped the almighty martial god change his reputation was made by the boss. But after the video was finished, why was he still staying up late to watch other battle videos of the almighty martial god? Is this still their boss who has no interest in anything except martial arts and sleeping? Kei Yuya pressed the pause button of the video and murmured. Sure enough, although it is very weak. After each of the 3 battles, his soul power will be slightly improved in quality. A warrior who can create his own skills and has the ability to walk his own path. After finally confirming the judgment in her heart, Kei Yuya yawned, and a trace of sleepiness emerged on her lazy face. Suddenly, she frowned slightly, and after feeling the 2 gazes coming from behind, she said lightly. Come to the training room and train quickly, or do you want me to help you practice more? After hearing this, Anderson and Schiller were shocked and ran away immediately. After Kei Yuya's analysis video and Arnold's clarification video came out, the wrong of the almighty martial god was completely cleared. And the battle video between the almighty martial god and Arnold also began to explode with the controversy. Ma Mingji held the computer every day, watching the increasing number of users on it, and kept saying, I'm rich. According to him, this website, which was established less than half a month ago, has officially started to make a profit. Also because of this battle, the number of warriors using the soul-gathering pistol in the martial arts dojo inexplicably increased. This incident did not last long. After getting their hands on it, these people realized how deceptive this weapon was as a long-range weapon, and the usage rate fell again after a few days. However, because these people felt more and more horrified by the almighty martial god, Su Jiyu inexplicably attracted a wave of fans. It was not until a week later that the storm on the internet gradually subsided. And all the storms that happened after the battle, Su Jiyu, who stayed in the practice room all day, had no interest in understanding. After he finished that battle, he went to sort out the new Tianyuan Gong that he had completed. Because the martial god's home website has begun to make a profit, Su Jiyu has no shortage of money to spend. He also used the school's channels to purchase several new martial arts weapons in the training room, and his life is very comfortable. In the past few days, he also took the money he earned and made appointments with Li Sanli, Feng Yan, and Yu Kunshao to have a few meals. From them, he also learned a lot of information that he didn't know. Ding-ling-a-ling. Just when Su Jiyu got up and washed, the phone rang. Looking at the caller ID, it was Yu Kunshao, the vice president of the student union. After answering the phone, Yu Kunshao's voice came out. Su Jiyu, because you have broken through the realm ahead of time and you haven't been in contact with the teacher for this period of time, you don't know this news yet, so the school asked me to inform you. Now most of the students in the school have broken through and stabilized the realm. The busiest period of the school season every year has passed. Next, all freshmen in the school will have a big class in the number 1 lecture hall. This is the first class of the school. You must go. Su Jiyu spit out the mouthwash and said, "Okay, I got it." After the two chatted on the phone for a while, Yu Kunshao couldn't help but ask out of curiosity. Su Jiyu, what kind of martial arts did you choose? Can you tell me a little bit about it? Su Jiyu is the civilian student who has used the most resources to recruit this year by Shinkong Martial Arts University. And his own plasticity is extremely high. Whether it is a warrior or an assassin, he has shown extremely high talent. Yu Kunshao is naturally very curious about the martial arts root of the genius. Su Jiyu was silent for a moment, then said, "I haven't made up my mind about martial arts, which is a major event in my life. I'm still using Tianyuan Gong." After listening to this, it was Yu Kunshao's turn to be silent. What are you kidding? After the first class of the new semester, there will be a freshman competition in 3 days. Every year, the school's outstanding tutors will go to the scene to watch and select outstanding students. You told me that you are still using transitional skills. Yeah, this made Yu Kunshao lose his temper. After a moment, he said weakly, "Freshman competition, I wish you good luck in martial arts." After leaving this sentence, he hung up the phone. In the afternoon, Su Jiyu asked Feng Yan and Ma Mingji to go to the number 1 lecture hall for the first class of the new semester. And the combination of Su Jiyu and Feng Yan immediately attracted the attention of a group of people. Is it Su Jiyu and Feng Yan? One of them is the strongest special recruit among the civilians who can kill enemies above their level, and the other is from a noble family. How come these two are together? The two strongest special recruits. Why didn't we see these two when we broke through the Seeking Myself realm? Aren't you talking nonsense? One of them is a top-level genius, and the other is the young master of a noble family. They broke through during the summer vacation. It is said that the school even opened the 1,000 Layers Martial Arts Tower in advance for them. It is estimated that the Seeking Myself realm skills they practiced are also top-level skills that we can't imagine. Listening to the buzz around them, Sugu and Feng Yan kept looking normal, but Ma Mingji beside them was very excited, watching the people around them saying from time to time beside Sugu and Feng Yan. Did you see the man with the short hair and no eyebrows? His name is Xiao Junjian, a special student of the Assassin Academy. He has been looking at you. It seems that he regards you as his opponent. There's also Wu Zhen, a special admissions student from the distance college, and Lu Guang from the heavy equipment side. Tisk, you two really attract hatred. Fortunately, little Kurami like me won't be taken into consideration. Sugu naturally felt the gazes around him, but he didn't care about them and passed through everyone's sights calmly. Brother Su, that Zheng Lu is here too. He just glanced at you a few times. Feng Yan lowered his voice and spoke carefully to Sugu. Sugu's footsteps paused, and when he thought of this guy who wanted to kill him a few days ago, he felt a rare murderous intention in his heart. Brother Su, regarding this guy, everything you asked me to do has been settled. After this class is over, I will find an opportunity to tell you slowly. Feng Yan continued to whisper in Sugu's ear. After hearing this, Sugu secretly concealed the murderous intent in his eyes. Killing people in modern society is still very troublesome, and you have to find a suitable opportunity. The three of them randomly found a seat in the classroom and sat down. When the bell rang in the classroom, a gentle old man with square glasses and silver hair walked into the classroom. Looking at his figure, Feng Yan beside him said in surprise, "Is it Instructor Lan Qing? I didn't expect that it was him teaching us." In addition to Feng Yan's voice, there was some commotion in the classroom. Apparently this teacher was quite famous. "Who is this old man?" Ma Mingji asked curiously. It was the first time that he saw this guy with eyes above his head, so surprised by a teacher, and he was also an old man who looked to be over 100 years old. There have been several federal generals among the students of this instructor. He is considered a living treasure of Starry Sky Martial Arts University. Feng Yan said with emotion. It is said that Instructor Lan Qing has never taught students anymore because of his old age. I originally wanted to become his disciple, but it was a pity that it took me a long time to learn this news. The old mentor named Lan Qing cleared his throat and coughed. His authority immediately silenced the noisy classroom just now. He cleared his throat again and said, "Now let's start the first lesson of the school year. I didn't specially prepare the courseware for this class, or you have all seen the courseware. It's a very popular battle video in the martial arts dojo in the virtual spiritual world recently. A warrior named Almighty Martial God defeated Arnold from Kaiyang Martial Arts University head-on." After hearing this, Sugu raised his eyebrows slightly. After Lan Qing finished speaking, the battle between Arnold and the Almighty Martial God that day began to play on the 3 projection walls of the huge lecture theater. The people sitting in the lecture theater looked at the video materials of that battle with mesmerized expressions on their faces. They are all top martial arts students who have been admitted to Starry Sky Martial Arts University, a top prestigious school. They are not the many martial arts noobs on the internet who have never even been exposed to martial arts and follow everyone else's advice. However, the more people who have practiced martial arts, the more they can feel the terrifying martial arts skills displayed by the 2 strong men in this battle. Those special recruits who were sitting in the front row of the college division watched the transition between offense and defense on both sides, and many of them stared straight-eyed. They are all extremely proud people, but watching this video, they have to admit that the combat ability and combat literacy displayed against the opponent are far higher than their current abilities. The more you look at it, the more yearning and admiration the expression on your face becomes. Sugu was watching the video with a strange expression on his face. He realized that the entire lecture hall, including Feng Yan beside him, were all staring at the video of his battle a week ago. Anyone who is used as video material and has the whole school watching and explaining will feel a little ashamed. Fortunately, his real identity has not been revealed yet. At the same time, it was also the first time that he intuitively felt the influence of the martial arts dojo in the virtual spiritual world, the most powerful simulated combat system in mankind today, in reality. Even top martial arts universities like Starry Sky Martial Arts University will choose the battles here as lesson plans for important courses. When Ma Mingji on the side saw this, he looked at Sugu and smiled with a mean look on his face. Seeing this, Sugu rolled his eyes at the fat man. Finally, the video finished playing, and many students still had unfinished expressions on their faces. Lan Qing tapped the projection wall with his wrinkled fingers, pulling the students back from their thoughts. This battle is indeed a classic among the warrior battles that took place during this period. Please, classmates, let's talk about how this battle feels to both sides. After Instructor Lan Qing finished speaking, several special admissions students in the front row wanted to make a good impression in front of him, so they all raised their hands. Soon, Xiao Junjian, a special recruit of the Assassin Academy, said, "I think the most commendable thing in this battle is the pace of the Almighty Martial God." Facing the pressure of the Force warriors, he relied entirely on his terrifying pace to contain him. Walk. If he hadn't used his pace to contain him for enough time, he wouldn't have been able to resist the moment of the final counterattack. Xiao Junjian's words aroused the approval of everyone around him, and even Lan Qing nodded slightly. "I think the most important thing in this battle is the Almighty Martial God's control over the opponent." Lu Guangdao, a special recruit of the Heavy Equipment Academy, After the whole battle, it seemed that Arnold had the upper hand most of the time, but in fact, the almighty god of war's fighting rhythm has never been disrupted. Instead, he has successfully interfered with his opponent's rhythm. This makes me, who has similar combat attributes to Arnold, even more alert. Don't you realize how terrifying the almighty martial god is with his gun? Wu Zhen, a special recruit from the Distance Academy, said, I really hope I can reach his level before I graduate. After the remaining specially recruited students expressed their opinions, they all received recognition from many people. At this time, Lan Qing glanced around, paused and said, I remember that there was a classmate named Sugu who was specially recruited today. What do you think of this battle? When the name Sugu was mentioned, everyone immediately turned their attention to him. In an instant, Sugu immediately became the focus of the audience. After feeling the gazes around him, Sugu stood up slowly. It seems that the title of Star Martial Arts University's strongest special admissions has attracted a lot of unnecessary attention to him. After standing up, Sugu thought for a moment and said, regarding this battle, the almighty martial god relied on his body's instinctive natural reaction to evade every attack from Arnold. During the battle, he should add some rational judgment to his instincts. Otherwise, if you often watch and study the almighty martial god's past battle videos, you may be able to read some of his physical habits and achieve countermeasures. After Sugu finished speaking, the eyes around him that were paying attention to him suddenly faded away a lot. And those students who had always regarded him as a competitor, who were also specially recruited, showed a trace of disdain on their faces. Training the body's response to attack into an instinct is the realm that these students have been pursuing. Now, according to Sugu's words, all the paths taken by these people are wrong. What a joke. It seems that the so-called most powerful special recruit who can kill enemies across levels is a person who likes to make some incomprehensible opinions to impress people. You can actually see this from the video. Lan Qing's surprised voice came from the podium. Everyone turned their heads when they heard Teacher Lan's voice and the affirmation of Sugu's words. Their faces showed confusion, as this student Sugu said, after you have trained your body's reaction to attacks into instinct, the next thing you have to do is to control this instinct of yours. According to the school's teaching plan, you can train your instinctive response to attacks in your sophomore year, and you will be considered an outstanding student. Controlling instinct is the difficulty you need to focus on during your junior and even senior years. After hearing the explanation from Lan Qing, the other people looked at Su Jiyu with different eyes. It turned out that they didn't understand what Su Jiyu said before because they didn't have enough vision. But according to Lan Qing, this is a course project that can only be touched by sophomores. Why can Su Jiyu see it at a glance? Has he reached such a level in advance? Everyone looked at him with more alertness. And Lan Qing looked at Su Jiyu with a little surprise. Can a freshman have such cognition? Looking at his information, he is a civilian without any background, so it is impossible that he was told in advance by the martial arts elders at home. Did he figure these out by himself? It seems that the school has really found a treasure this year. But Lan Qing changed his mind and his expression became strange again. Such a student is still using the transitional method of Tianyuan Gong. What is he thinking? Does he not care about the upcoming freshman competition at all? This made Lan Qing curious about a student, which was rare. In class, when Sugu sat down, Lan Qing began to break down the skills and defenses of both sides and explain them in detail. From time to time, this excellent instructor would share some insightful insights into martial arts, and even Sugu listened with gusto. From time to time in the class, someone peeked over to where Sugu was, sizing up this special recruit who could kill enemies at higher levels in the martial arts exam and who had just been praised by instructor Lan Qing. From time to time, people were whispering, guessing what kind of technique he chose and how he applied for the command department. Brother Su, let's go to dinner together. I still have some martial arts questions that I want to ask you about. Of course Brother Ma will come too, and I'll treat you to this meal. After the first class of the freshmen ended, Feng Yan said to Sugu and Ma Mingji. Generally speaking, Feng Yan would not take a serious look at people like Ma Mingji who were at a lower level of martial arts than him. But since he knew that he and Sugu could be brothers, he immediately looked up to him and started calling him Brother Ma. Okay, Brother Su, go quickly. When I was in high school, I was always the one who was the enemy, and now there is finally a new one. Ma Mingji said with a smile as soon as he heard that someone was treating him. Seeing that the two of them had settled down, Sugu smiled and nodded and said, "Okay, let's get together." After the first lesson of the semester ended, there was a burst of arguing in the school instructor's work building. "What are you talking about? Sugu didn't choose any exercises. Are you kidding me?" Jia Sanli stood in front of Yu Kunshao and asked loudly, as if he couldn't believe what he just heard. Yu Kunshao smiled bitterly and said, "Teacher Xie, why did I lie to you? Why is this?" Jia Sanli couldn't figure it out. Could it be that Sugu had been coming to Shinkong Martial Arts University for so long and no one had taught him the importance of the freshman competition? Many excellent instructors in the school will come to observe the students' battles and select students. Why doesn't Sugu pay so much attention to it and doesn't even change the transition technique now? Although he is the best among the freshmen this year, it does not mean that other students are trash. Which student who can be admitted to the Starry Sky Martial Arts University was not the top talent in a city before coming here? And even if you perform well in the cultivation realm, you have already entered the self-seeking realm by participating in the freshman competition. Now that a whole realm has passed, everyone has begun to practice the exercises. What do you want to do with your broken Tian Yuan Gong? Actually, the reason should be very simple. At this moment, a female teacher wearing black work clothes and neat short hair came over and said, "She is Qian Lu, last year's outstanding youth instructor at Shinkong Martial Arts University. I have also heard about this student Sugu. It is undeniable that his performance in the martial arts test in high school was indeed excellent, but excellence in high school is another matter in college." After hearing these words, Jia Sanli's face looked slightly confused, and then he asked for advice. "Teacher Qian, may I ask if you have any advice?" It's very simple. Once many high school students are admitted to the university of their choice, they think that their lives are complete. Instead, they will waste their time and their excellent talents in the subsequent college career with a vengeance. I think Sugu is like this. Otherwise, it would be difficult to understand why he applied for the command department, and it is even harder to understand why he has not chosen his own method until now. After hearing what Teacher Lan said, Jia Sanli and Yu Kunshao began to recall their experience with Sugu. In their memories, both of them were deeply impressed by Sugu's pursuit of martial arts. So they protested. But Sugu, according to our contact with him, Sugu is definitely not such a person. That's right, even if school hasn't officially started yet, he is technically still on vacation, and Sugu's training time is no different from that in high school. Such students are definitely not what you said, Teacher Qian, who give up on martial arts, people. Seeing the vice president of the student union and the teacher from the admissions office retorting to her at the same time, Qian Lu had a trace of doubt on her face. Could it be that she had really made a mistake? It is said that Feng Yan and Sugu have become very close in the past few days. Could it be that Sugu has decided to join the family, so he can delay his conversion of skills so that he will not steal Feng Yan's skills in the freshman competition? Limelight. Qian Lu frowned and raised another possibility. This shouldn't be. After hearing this, the expression on Jia Sanli's face became a little stiff. Could it be that the students they had worked so hard to recruit decided to follow the aristocratic family in such a short period of time? But this situation seems to happen every year. The family would invest the scarce resources needed by the warriors in school in exchange for some small favors. Is this the case with Sugu? Actually, I saw Feng Yan and Sugu coming out of the martial arts 1,000-story tower before, and Feng Yan acted more like that little Kurami. Yu Kunshao recalled the situation that day and weakly interjected. Two teachers, is it possible that these two people get together, and Feng Yan is the younger brother? After Yu Kunshao finished speaking, he was immediately glared at by the two teachers. Qian Lu looked at him as if he were an idiot and said, "Do you know that among all the families our school comes into contact with, the Feng family is the most arrogant? What's more, Feng Yan is the young head of the Feng family, and he is also a special admissions student in the school. What he has just a lot more than Sugu. Why should he be Sugu's younger brother?" Xie Sanli also shook his head and said, "Su Jiyu is a commoner without any power. The conflict between commoners and those aristocratic families in the competition for educational resources has become increasingly acute. And Feng Yan is the representative of the aristocratic families this year and the strongest one. I can understand that these two people are together as having similar interests. You said Feng Yan is impressed by Su Jiyu. There is absolutely no such possibility. Hearing the two teachers' categorical rejection, Yu Kunshao's expression became a little confused. Did I really make a mistake? After coming out of the Thousand Layers Tower of Martial Arts that day, those things were all my illusions. It should be a mistake. Is it? ... Brother Su, I toast you a glass. At this moment in Feng Yan's dormitory, he directly asked the housekeeper who was responsible for his daily life to pack a large bag of star-level dishes to entertain Su Jiyu and Ma Mingji. Ma Mingji buried his head in eating, his mouth full of oil. While Feng Yan and Su Jiyu ate and chatted, Feng Yan kept asking Su Jiyu questions related to martial arts. Su Jiyu has been practicing hard for many years. Now that he meets a peer who can keep up with his thinking, he is naturally happy to share. Feng Yan and Su Jiyu talked, and the more they talked, the more shocked they felt. Many problems that he could not solve when he asked his elders at home, were immediately enlightened by Su Gu's casual advice. He even felt that the barrier that had been stuck for a long time showed some signs of loosening. So his attitude towards Su Jiyu became more respectful. When the two of them were chatting happily, the smile on Su Gu's face suddenly disappeared. Then he said, Feng Yan, how is the thing I asked you to do before? After hearing Su Gu's question, Feng Yan's expression became serious. He subconsciously looked around, and then used his mobile phone to project an image stereoscopically. The image clearly showed a man who had covered his body extremely tightly, secretly taking out federal banknotes that were rare in this era, and buying something at an inconspicuous health product store in the downtown area. I've asked my family to check it out. The products sold in this store are all illegal elixirs that are strictly prohibited by the federal government. And this man in black is a member of the Zheng family. What he wants to buy is a violent blood pill that can temporarily triple his own qualities in all aspects. Obviously, this is what Zheng Lu prepared for you, Brother Su. I'll kill you at the freshman meeting. After hearing this, Su Gu nodded. What Zheng Lu did was completely within his expectation. Then he said, Then what I asked you to do, have you finished it? Of course, Feng Yan said confidently. Since Brother Su said hello, I have found someone to keep an eye on the Zheng family's movements. The owner of this store has been bribed by me in advance, and the person who sold it to the Zheng family is not a violent person. The blood pill is the all-round advanced elixir of the blood-burning pill, the blood-burning soul pill. After taking this thing, the quality of all aspects of the eater will be improved tenfold. It is said that Zheng Lu was ecstatic when he got this elixir. I guess he has already decided that he will take you. After hearing this, Su Gu nodded and said, Thank you. Murderous intent flashed in his eyes. This pill, which is banned from circulation by the Federation, is a double-edged sword for warriors. While giving the warrior the power to tear apart his opponent, it will also drain the life potential of the person who takes it. Zheng Lu, you bought the medicine yourself, and you decided to take it when fighting me. I was just fighting with you and accidentally hit your heart a few times. Your death was just a legitimate act of self-defense. Su Gu murmured to himself. This martial arts world has its own rules. Su Gu doesn't want to become a wanted criminal in the Federation, so he still needs to pay attention to some skills when killing people. Brother Su, why bother? Zheng Lu, if you really want to kill him, just ask me to replace the blood-burning soul pill with some poison. Even if the Zheng family knows that it was my Feng family who did it, they will. What can I do? There are many dead men in my family who are willing to bear the consequences. Feng Yan said indifferently. After hearing this, Su Gu smiled. I'm afraid this is the difference between an individual and a family who wants to kill someone. No need, this is between me and Zheng Lu, not your Feng family and Zheng family. Because Su Gu had similar interests with Feng Yan, he was willing to talk to him and teach him some martial arts. It would be no problem for him to help him with some small help as a member of the Feng family. But if the Feng family helps him kill people, that's another matter. It's inevitable that he will be tied too deeply. Su Gu didn't want to be tied to a certain aristocratic family's worship for no apparent reason. Okay, since Brother Su likes to do things himself, I won't say anything. If you encounter any difficulties, come to me at any time. Seeing Sugu's clear rejection, Feng Yan didn't take it seriously and continued to entertain with a smile. 2 days after Su Jiyu made all arrangements for killing Zheng Lu. At Starry Sky Martial Arts University, the day of the annual freshman competition is here. Xingwu University is a city of martial arts that covers half of the city. During their competitions over the years, not only the teachers and students within the university came to watch. Outstanding alumni from previous years, leaders of other martial arts forces in society, and some small and medium-sized aristocratic families will be invited to watch the martial arts. This year seems to be more lively than in previous years. One after another, private extraterrestrial exploration spacecrafts flew down from the sky and parked directly on the 13th playground of Xingwu University. Some gossips among the students took a few photos and posted them on the campus website. Looking at the people walking out above, they all gasped. I don't know what happened to this year's freshman competition. Even the members of the school board of directors, who are usually very busy, are here. Not only the school board, I also saw General Yin on the spaceship. This is a federal general who came out of our school, and we even invited him out. Aren't these generals leading troops all year round to patrol the solar system? Come to us when you have time. Although we little Karami don't know what happened, this year's competition must be very important. Even if I can't compete for the first place, I can show my face and make a good impression among these big shots, which will be very important for my future. Helpful. At this moment, all the students, even the special admission students, felt their hearts burning. Who doesn't want a carp to jump over the Dragon's Gate and soar into the sky? Isn't today a perfect opportunity? Which college will Sugu participate in the competition? Someone anonymously left a sentence on the forum. Seeing this sentence, everyone's heart felt hot. The college where Sugu is in is the command department. According to the situation of this useless college, not many students can enter the self-seeking realm at this time in the past. According to the practice of previous years, if someone in the command department is lucky enough to break through and be able to participate in the competition, these 3 or 2 students will be merged into other colleges for competition. Of course, which college to choose depends on the student's own wishes and whether the martial arts career matches it. It is said that Sugu still practices Tianyuan Gong until now. Some students with a burning heart added the second sentence. After saying this, the students staring at the campus network felt the temperature suddenly rise a little, and their mouths were dry. He was able to kill the general-level Starry Sky Titan across levels, and during the freshman opening class, he showed a fighting vision that was praised by instructor Lan Cheng. Everyone was wary of Su Jiyu, thinking that he was the favorite to win the freshman competition. Perhaps only the young master of the Feng family was at the same level as him and could compete with him head-on. But now it is different. This prodigy whose every move is watched by everyone is naturally watched by countless people with ulterior motives and spying on intelligence. Soon, the fact that Su Jiyu did not change his skills at all during the first few days of school and was still practicing Tianyuan Gong was immediately exposed. This is my chance. Someone licked his lips and excitedly opened the microphone directly on the public screen and said in voice. Listening to this voice, it should be the special recruit Zhan Yu from the Warrior Academy. It's no wonder that he was so excited. After watching the martial arts exam video leaked by Su Jiyu, the most likely academy for him to take the martial arts exam was the Warrior Academy. If he could defeat the famous Su Jiyu in public, even if he couldn't attract the attention of the bigwigs on the board of directors, he would definitely attract the attention of the excellent tutors. Zhan Yu posted it. People in the campus forum naturally understood Zhan Yu's hidden intentions and expressed their envy and jealousy. Su Jiyu has now gone from being the big boss that everyone avoids to the fat meat that everyone wants to take a bite of. Located in the Starry Sky Martial Arts University, in an empty undeveloped area, a high-density black-gold battlefield has been laid out. The black and red battlefields, which are about the size of a football field, are as solemn altars. Large and small aircraft with high-precision filming equipment are located outside the battlefield. When the battle begins, these instruments will rise straight up and project the live battle scenes shot from various angles onto the screens outside the battlefield. All the students who have broken through the Seeking Myself realm of the Starry Sky Martial Arts University are now gathered here. They are arranged in a square array and stand outside the battlefield with a serious face. The powerful aura emanating from these young warriors adds a bit of solemnity to the entire field. The projection of a middle-aged man with a hideous scar on his forehead appears in the center of the battlefield. His appearance makes the originally quiet and solemn field even quieter, with only the sound of breathing and heartbeats. I am the former general of the Federation, and now the principal of Starry Sky Martial Arts University, Cheng Ziwen. The projection spoke expressionlessly, introducing himself. His tone was calm, and he did not deliberately boast about himself. But the word, general, still made the eyes of those students who stood still glow with a fiery light. I guess many of you here have already noticed that the school attaches much more importance to this freshman competition than in previous years. I won't keep you in suspense. This competition is also a selection. Not only will the school's outstanding mentors come here to select, but the seniors who graduated here and are currently serving in the Army, General Yin, will also be watching you. Those with the best performance will be eligible to participate in a military trial in the Starry Sky. There, you have the opportunity to kill the Starry Sky aliens at the level of war generals with your own hands. Of course, in this trial, there are also opportunities that you can't imagine and knowledge inheritance about aliens that will not be recorded in books. When the principal Cheng Ziwen personally explained the purpose behind this freshman competition, the neatly arranged square formations shook a little. Many students clenched their hands excitedly, and their faces were trembling with excitement. Unlike the safe college entrance examination, this is a real opportunity to train themselves and kill aliens. For humans who have experienced the dark ages in history and even their home planets have been occupied, this is an honor. Not to mention, the Army will lead the team. The military merit of killing aliens can definitely be exchanged for some benefits that are rarely seen in daily life. I think you all know what this means. In this case, I declare the official start of this year's freshman competition. The day of the freshman competition has officially begun. When Principal Cheng Ziwen announced the start, the huge projection disappeared immediately. At this moment, many people involuntarily focused their attention on Su Ji-yu. The rules of the freshman competition in previous years will not change. People from various departments will compete internally and select the strongest 3 as college representatives. Then the 3 representatives will represent their respective colleges and fight a series of elimination battles, and finally select the first freshman of this year. As the command department, which college will Su Ji-yu choose to participate in the competition? Feeling the eyes around him, Su Ji-yu glanced around and soon found Jung Lu in the crowd. So you are from the Warrior College? Su Ji-yu smiled coldly and said to the teacher who was recording beside him. I'm participating in the internal competition of Warrior Academy. After hearing this, Zhan Yu, a special student of Warrior Academy, almost jumped up with excitement. He had expressed his expectation for this battle on the Academy website before, but he didn't expect that he could really get what he wanted. If he was in the self-cultivation realm, Su Ji-yu, who could kill enemies across levels, would naturally deserve his serious treatment, or even decisive retreat. But now he is in the seeking myself realm. Zhan Yu, who has already used a powerful technique, can clearly understand how great the improvement of a warrior is after practicing the technique. The difference between the techniques, in the excavation of the warrior's power, is the difference between heaven and earth. As a special student of Starry Sky Martial Arts University, he doesn't believe that he will lose to Su Ji-yu. Defeating the famous figure of this school is his chance to become famous. At this moment, Su Ji-yu is operating and completing the identity level of the command system participating in the competition in Warrior Academy. At this moment, Jung Lu also stared at Su Gu's back with a cold look. I really didn't expect that your martial arts method is actually Tianyuan Gong. Jung Lu's face showed a scornful smile. He just got this news recently. Knowing this, his originally restless heart was completely settled. If Su Ji-yu didn't exist, he would be the provincial champion. Jung Lu has always been worried about this. He believes that his strength is comparable to Su Gu's. As long as he uses some props, he will definitely be able to break the balance of power between them. If I had known that you would be like this, why would I spend a lot of money to buy the violent blood-burning soul pill? If I want to destroy you, I don't need to use the pill at all. According to Jung Lu's original plan, he would find an opportunity in the freshman competition to completely destroy Su Ji-yu, so that he could not practice martial arts and was forced to drop out of school. When Su Ji-yu leaves Starry Sky Martial Arts University, he can control him at will with the influence of his Jung family. Now it seems that this plan is much smoother than Jung Lu expected. At this moment, on an immobile airship high in the sky, wine and food are intertwined here. A group of people in formal attire are holding wine glasses and socializing here. From time to time, he pointed his finger at the battle venue of the underground Starry Sky Martial Arts University, showing the projected images. Commenting on a student who appeared. These are all prestigious figures from all walks of life invited by the school in this freshman competition. Many of them are the heads of regional halls of some aristocratic families, as well as some important officials of the local federation, and outstanding lecturers at the Star Martial Arts University. For them here, apart from the freshman competition, the more important thing is actually socializing. In the VIP room on the airship, a man with a short and curly beard, wearing a battle armor, and a face as dark as coal was pouring a bottle of wine down his throat. He glanced through the window at the group of people socializing outside, and suddenly asked curiously, "What's going on over there at Warrior Academy? Is that student who attracts a lot of attention famous?" General Yin, who came from the Solar System Space Garrison Base, asked curiously. If only the students had cast their eyes on him, the federal general would not have asked this question. But when he just looked outside, he found that many instructors from Xingwu University, and even his mentor Lan Qing, briefly let his eyes stay for a moment after the Sugu boy appeared. This aroused his curiosity. His question was quickly answered by the intelligent AI in the room, and he clicked his tongue after hearing the original meaning. It turns out he is a student who is destroying his own future. He immediately lost interest. Everyone has seen a high-ranking person of his level. This kind of thing is completely unworthy of his attention. At this time, the door to the VIP room was pushed open. After seeing who came, he smiled and said, "Lao Cheng, you are not authentic. When you gave your speech just now, you didn't tell the students the full purpose of this freshman competition. You still have to keep your hands on your own students." Listening to his friend's teasing, Noriko asked with a wry smile on his face. "What can I say?" Cheng Ziwen said with a wry smile. "Tell these students that according to the school board's intention, if they can follow you to participate in the Star Air Force Brigade, they may be selected into the school team. And thus participate in the Solar System Martial Arts College Conference. Do you think those people on the school board who spend every day on the moon and think about policies with their drunken butts can be trusted?" Listening to his old friend's complaints, General Yin silently took away the bottle of wine at his mouth. And Cheng Ziwen continued, "I don't have such high expectations for these freshmen at all. After all, they are just freshmen and too immature. In the competition a year later, the juniors and seniors will be the main force of our school. I asked you to help lead the freshmen, just to let the potential children among them gain experience to cope with the next conference." Hearing Cheng Ziwen's words, General Yin's face also showed a trace of nostalgia and helplessness. In the Solar System Martial Arts College Conference, he and Cheng Ziwen also represented the school in the battle. But even with two young men who have the potential to become federal generals leading the team, the Starry Sky Martial Arts University's ranking has not broken through the top 500. It's not that they are weak, but that their opponents are too strong. The organizers of this conference are not the federal governments of the major planets, but the top 10 families that have stood at the top of humanity since martial arts was not born and humans had not yet left the solar system to explore the starry sea. The contestants of the conference are not only the colleges and universities registered within the Federation, but some powerful families will also send their outstanding disciples to participate. The situation this year may be a little more complicated. Arnold, the captain of Kaiyang Martial Arts University, who has always been our rival in previous years, began to have a sudden enlightenment in martial arts after the battle with the almighty martial god, and is now in seclusion. There is no doubt that he will become stronger after he comes out. This time, the freshmen of Kaiyang Martial Arts University will be led by him to the trial. When you take our students to the trial, you will definitely run into people from Kaiyang Martial Arts University. If the two sides meet, there will inevitably be a fight between the freshmen. I specifically asked teacher Lan Qing to use the battle between the almighty martial god and Arnold as the lesson plan for the first lesson of the new semester, just to let these freshmen get familiar with the opponent in advance, so as not to be afraid before the battle. Chang Ziwen pressed his temple and said with a headache. Not only did the captain of the rival school break through recently, but even some people from large families also tried their best to fight this year, and I don't know why. Thinking of the complicated situation this year, Chang Ziwen, as the principal, no longer holds any hope for the university ranking to rise this year, and only hopes that it will not fall too hard. Hey, the defense battle has already begun. I didn't expect this kid to have the courage to defend the ring. General Yin looked at the battle that had already begun on the projection screen in the VIP room, and looked at the figure of the boy named Su Jiyu, whom he had just inquired about, walking onto the ring and said jokingly. The rules of the freshman competition of Shinkong Martial Arts University are rough and simple. The ring is built with alien blood black gold. If you want to be the winner, you have to defend the ring. Once you stand alone on the ring, you are the defender, and anyone from the same college can go up for a one-on-one duel. The final winner is the one who successfully defends the ring the most times. Generally speaking, few people are willing to be the first defender. After all, at this time, the physical strength of all students in the college is at its peak. If you are the first to go up and be challenged in a cycle, you will inevitably suffer, so most people are waiting and watching. While these people were watching, Su Jiyu walked up alone. From the perspective of others, he seemed to be a reckless man with courage but no strategy. The first defender of the Warrior Academy is Su Jiyu. Su Jiyu held a long knife in his hand and stood in the center of the fighting arena. The aircraft in the sky used a mechanical sound to broadcast this news to the whole audience. Swish! Many people couldn't help but look at the arena of the Warrior Academy. Seeing Su Gu's figure, a trace of heat flashed in their eyes. The most prestigious special recruit in the school, before entering the school, the video of the cross-level battle was spread on the internet. Such people enjoy a great reputation. But at this moment, he who is still practicing, Tianyuan Gong, does not seem to be worthy of his reputation. Many people are interested in defeating Tianzhao in public. Su Jiyu is like a piece of fat meat, which makes people salivate. If they were not from different academies and could not challenge according to the rules, many people would have rushed over now. Zheng Lu looked at Su Jiyu with a sinister smile on his face. Today, he will beat Su Jiyu to pieces. Just as he was about to say that he wanted to challenge Su Jiyu, a loud voice rang out beside him. Su Jiyu, I'm going to fight you. As he spoke, Zanyu seemed to be afraid of being beaten by others, so he directly used the step, Tianzong, and stepped into the air to stand on the ring. Zanyu stared at Su Jiyu, with a hint of heat on his face. Ever since he found out that Su Jiyu did not use the privilege of special admissions to exchange for his own skills, he had the idea of defeating him in public in the freshman competition and becoming a real celebrity in the school. Unexpectedly, everything went so smoothly, Zanyu even felt that even God was helping him. Compared to Zanyu's excitement, Su Jiyu just raised his eyelids, glanced at him casually, and then began to play with the long sword in his hand. It seems that he doesn't care who his opponent is. Over at the Warrior Academy, students have already gone to the ring and are ready to start fighting. Who do you think will win? In the social venue of the airship, many of the excellent instructors of Xingwu University who were watching the ring from the dark turned their attention when the first duel took place. They also hope to find excellent students in the freshman competition and recruit them to train them. Su Jiyu vs. Zanyu. Both of them are special recruits. I didn't expect to see such a fierce competition in the first game. Zanyu is a warrior special recruit, and this Su Jiyu is the command department. Don't be surprised, this Su Jiyu is this and that, this and that. The information of the two students quickly spread around these instructors, and when they looked at Su Gu's situation, the expressions on their faces became extremely strange. Even though these instructors have been in the industry for so many years, it is the first time they have seen such a strange student. Obviously, he is the champion of the martial arts exam, but he took the initiative to go to the command department. The school had clearly promised that he could choose from all the top martial arts, and he could also consult top instructors at will and plan his own martial arts path, but this student is still practicing Tianyuan Gong. Many martial artists think they are different and unique when they are young. As a result, they rebel and take some paths that their predecessors have never taken. Many years later, they look back and realize that they are wasting their time. This Su Ji-yu is probably in this situation. Instructor Qian Lu said this indifferently among these people. These words were recognized by most of the instructors present. As instructors who have served in Xingwu University for many years, they have indeed seen many such situations. With Su Gu's fighting qualities, this battle will have a 10-minute scorching period, but the final winner will be Zhan Yu. Soon someone made his prediction, and most people nodded after listening. Standing among these instructors, Lan Qing, the oldest, has always ignored what these people said. He looked at Su Gu's back and recalled the first class of the new semester. The young man pointed out the theme he wanted to teach in class. Is this kind of person really someone who has no knowledge or plan for his own martial arts path? Lan Qing looked at the battle that was about to begin, and his wrinkled eyes narrowed slightly. Zheng Lu looked at the two people on the stage with a rather dissatisfied expression on his face. Zhan Yu, he actually took away what he wanted to do. The information that Su Gu's practice method was still the transitional method of Tianyuan Gong had long been spread in the school. Zheng Lu thought that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him to take action. Maybe as long as he could seize this opportunity and completely cripple Su Ji-yu, he would not need to take the burning blood and violent soul pill he bought. And now this opportunity has been destroyed by Zhan Yu. Zheng Lu gritted his teeth and stared at Su Ji-yu on the stage fiercely. He prayed in his heart that after Su Ji-yu was beaten down, he would have a chance to fight him on the stage. I planned to use the gravity bracelet to trick you, and you crippled my little brother in front of me. The grudge between us has long been irreconcilable. In this case, I will definitely get rid of enemies like you as soon as possible. Zheng Lu thought silently in his heart. On the ring, Su Ji-yu and Zhan Yu stood on both sides and confronted each other. Zhan Yu's face was full of excitement. Defeating Su Ji-yu was the first step for him to become famous in Xingwu University and become a famous figure in the academy. Compared with him, Su Ji-yu seemed a little absent-minded. When the mechanical referee confirmed that both fighters were ready, the countdown projection for the start of the battle began to light up. 10, 9, 8, 7. When the number turned to 5, Su Ji-yu raised his eyes, as if he was seriously looking at his opponent. Use your strongest defensive fighting skills immediately, Su Ji-yu said in a flat tone. There was an imperative and unquestionable command in those calm words. But it didn't seem like a verbal deterrence given to the opponent before the battle, but more like a suggestion. Zhan Yu frowned, and his thoughts flashed through his mind. His brain was kicked by a donkey, giving advice to his opponent before the battle. Su Ji-yu, who do you think you are? And at this moment, the countdown of the projection returned to 0. In an instant, Zhan Yu felt an extremely terrifying pressure coming towards him. He felt as if he was pulled into the deep sea, completely unable to breathe. The pressure around him almost made him vomit blood. The black gold sword in his hand pierced into his feet fiercely, and Zhan Yu forced himself out of his unconsciousness with the pain. He looked at Su Ji-yu, his face full of fear. What was that just now? A mental shock type combat skill? He didn't practice Tianyuan Gong. What on earth is this pressure? As a special recruit of the Warrior Academy, after quickly adjusting his state, he began to list all the possibilities of the situation that just occurred in his mind. Zhan Yu put away all his contempt, his muscles tensed, and looked at Su Ji-yu ready for battle. And Su Ji-yu seemed to have been waiting to recover. Seeing this, he nodded slightly, and then casually swung a slash in the direction of Zhan Yu. At that moment, the long sword in Su Gu's hand seemed to have turned into an ancient wild beast, and everyone could hear the roar of the beast coming from the blade. An extremely terrifying sword light attacked Zhan Yu's direction, at an extremely fast speed, and there was no way to avoid it. Zhan Yu didn't have time to think about it, and immediately did what Su Ji-yu said before the battle, using his strongest defensive skills. Bluestone Jade Body. Zhan Yu's body was wrapped in a ball of blue soul power in an instant, as if wrapped in a layer of blue armor. The terrifying sword light collided with the blue armor, and the two did not hold on for about a second. The blue armor began to disintegrate layer by layer, and was almost chopped into pieces in an instant. The sword force contained in the sword light did not seem to weaken. After crushing all of Zhan Yu's defenses like a rotten wood, it chopped Zhan Yu's body without mercy. Ah! Zhan Yu screamed in the sky, and blood splattered. He flew out like a piece of garbage thrown away at random. Zanyu, who was a special recruit like Su Jiyu, was slashed out of the ring. Bang! Zanyu fell to the ground, covered in blood, and cold sweat kept flowing from his forehead. If it weren't for the bluestone jade body that blocked the knife light for a moment, giving Zanyu the opportunity to unload the force and adjust the posture of the force, I'm afraid it would be more than just being slashed out of the ring. I'm afraid that if he took this blow, he would be unconscious for at least a week. Suddenly, Zanyu remembered the advice Su Jiyu said before the battle, reminding him to use his strongest defense. This guy is actually thinking about me. An unbearable sense of humiliation rose from Zanyu's heart. For a warrior, the most disgusting thing is to fight with an opponent, but the opponent is worried about whether he will hit too hard and accidentally injure the opponent. Zanyu recalled the excitement he had just felt when he wanted to fight Su Jiyu, and suddenly felt like a clown. He seemed to feel that the physical pain was no longer so unbearable, and the mental blow made him feel sick. Zanyu's head went sideways and he fainted. Several medical staff rushed over to him. When they confirmed that Zanyu's life was fine, the mechanical judgment sounded. Warrior Academy's first defense match, winner, Su Jiyu. At this moment in the ring area, the people from the Warrior Academy were silent, and their eyes were full of incomprehension and disbelief when they looked at Su Jiyu. This silent atmosphere even affected other colleges. Many people cast their eyes on Su Jiyu, with fear in their eyes. The two people fighting nearby, who were attacking and defending the ring, paused for a moment because of Su Gu's knife. It has been said that Su Jiyu practiced the Tianyuan Gong. Has he lost his competitiveness in this freshman competition? The so-called loss of competitiveness means that he killed the special recruits in 1 second with one knife. Does this look like losing competitiveness? This is definitely a seeded player who can win the championship. How can he be so strong? Among the many fearful eyes, there is a beam of eyes that contains resentment and fear. Zheng Lu's face was pale, and he murmured as if he had a nightmare. All along, Zheng Lu believed that even if Su Jiyu could cross the border and kill the enemy in the self-cultivation realm, it would only be the upper realm after all. Who can go further in the search for Mi realm is still unknown. Even in his subconscious, he always thought that he and Su Jiyu were on par. After all, even if Su Gu's talent is a little higher than his, he has the resources of a family to support him. Could the future head of the Zheng family lose to you, a commoner with no background? Now watching Su Jiyu slashing that knife at close range, Zheng Lu knew that he was wrong, extremely wrong. Zheng Lu cursed madly in his heart. He asked someone to assassinate Su Jiyu in the martial arts thousand-layer tower area, and the hatred between the two could no longer be resolved. Now it was more than a personal grudge against Su Jiyu, and he had to cut off this future big trouble in advance. Zheng Lu took out the blood-burning violent soul pill that he had bought in advance from his arms, and his expression was uncertain. I thought I wouldn't be able to use this thing before, but now it seems that it was a wise decision to order the clan members to buy this thing in advance. Increase your own body function tenfold. Although the side effects are a bit big, it's worth it for Su Jiyu. Zheng Lu quietly hid his figure in the darkness. He wanted to take this pill and then adapt to the emerging power as much as possible in a short period of time, so as not to let others see the flaws. Student Su Jiyu, according to the rules, after completing a ring battle, the defender has 1 to 10 minutes of rest time. How long do you need to rest? A small camera flew to Su Jiyu in the sky and spoke to him in a mechanical voice. No, I don't need to rest, let's just start. Su Jiyu said calmly. While speaking, he moved his shoulders. He hadn't used a knife for a long time, and he was not used to it. The defenders have finished their rest. Please invite the next attacker from the Warrior Academy to come on stage. The emotionless mechanical sound echoed in the arena. But among the thousands of students on the field, no one dared to answer. The arena area, which was originally noisy, was now so quiet that one could only hear the nervous heartbeats of the students below. The defenders have finished their rest. Please invite the next attacker from the Warrior Academy to come on stage. The machine started broadcasting again, but there was still no response. These talented students who were admitted to the Starry Sky Martial Arts University all seemed to be mute. Attack. Attack what? Giving away heads. I didn't see that Zanyu, who was a special recruit, was killed by Su Gu in one move. Students like them, who were not even qualified to be a special recruit, were still going to join in the fun. Time passed by, but even though they knew that Sugu was about to advance, they didn't even have a chance to perform, and no one dared to step forward. The students of the Warrior Academy raised their heads and looked at Sugu in the ring, with humiliation written all over their faces. People in the command department now have to use their quota in the Warrior Academy to compete with other academies for first place in the freshman competition. Nothing so outrageous has ever happened to Starry Sky Martial Arts University since its establishment. But it happened to happen in their session. Why did Sugu come to their academy to fight? These people are cursing their mothers crazily in their hearts. It's interesting. In the VIP room of the airship in the sky, General Yin watched the replay of the Lion's Roar and 10,000 Tigers sword, slashed by Sugu with a smile on his lips. This sword technique is an inferior version of your boxing technique. It's really impressive that this student can do it like this. The principal Cheng Ziwen on the side also praised aloud. I guess in order to cut such a stunning sword with one sword, this student will have to practice hard in this combat skill for 5 years. The sword strike just now seemed good to both of us, not to mention those people outside. Maybe teacher Lan Qing has even thought of accepting a disciple. The two big guys were talking to each other, and just as they said, the public area used for socializing outside the airship was currently being discussed heatedly because of Sugu. To be able to achieve such killing power isn't the technique he practices, Tian Yuan Gong. How on earth did he do this? The outstanding instructors of Xingwu University felt dazed as they looked at what was happening in the arena. With one move, Zhan Yu, who was also a special recruit, was killed. Now he was even more shocked, and no one in the entire Warrior Academy dared to step on the stage. Being able to perform such a dominant performance, not many people have been able to do it over the years. Many people looked at the handsome young man who was waiting for his opponent in the ring, and their eyes were different. Those in charge of the branches of the martial arts forces began to inquire whether this young man belonged to them, and wanted to absorb him in advance. Some outstanding instructors at Starry Sky Martial Arts University are also thinking about what kind of resources they can provide Sugu and whether it is possible to recruit him into their sect. Suddenly, many people in the airship floating in the sky began to come and go to spy on Sugu's information because of his wandering mind. Similar, but not the same. At this moment, Mentor Lan Qing looked at Sugu's calm eyes through the broadcast, and his heart was filled with emotions. This treasure-level instructor of Xingwu University had much more sinister eyes than many people present. When Sugu's battle just started, he was fully focused and stared at it without blinking. With his many years of martial arts experience, his naked eyes have noticed many things in this live broadcast. The technique used by this student named Sugu is definitely not Tian Yuan Gong. But even though it wasn't, it felt very similar to him, and this feeling was extremely strange. Could it be? A bold guess flashed through Lan Qing's head. Lan Qing's old body began to tremble as if he had been electrocuted, and his blood flow accelerated, making his skin slightly red. The excitement in his eyes could not be concealed, and he stared at Sugu's back without blinking. He was still not completely sure that he wanted to watch Sugu's battle again. Invite the next challenger from the Warrior Academy to the stage. If no one is willing to challenge the defender within 5 minutes of holding the ring, the defender will be judged to have succeeded in keeping the ring according to the rules. Sugu will be ranked number 1 in the Warrior Academy, and as a representative of the academy, he will compete with other academies for the first place in the freshman competition. The mechanical announcement sounded throughout the venue, but the sound echoed on the field. This time it added a rule that was not mentioned before. The students under the ring looked at Sugu, and many of their faces turned red. Do those who go to the command department really want to take away their places in the Warrior Academy to participate in the competition to be the leader of the freshman competition? They are unwilling to do so. At this moment, Sugu's face still looked calm, and he was not that concerned about these things. It would be best if the freshmen can win the competition and get more resources from the school. But his real purpose is to pull out the poisonous snake next to him. When I think of that 20-fold gravity bracelet at the 1,000-layer martial arts tower. As the mastermind behind this incident was still with him, Sugu felt as if there was a thorn in his flesh. If Zheng Lu is not allowed to disappear, Su Jiyu will be uneasy even after 4 years of college. The sword I just cut with Zhan Yu showed my strength appropriately. Zheng Lu must have raised my threat level in his heart and wanted to get rid of me as soon as possible. If I was picked by the army during the freshman competition and participated in the trial in the starry sky, he would be completely out of control and even more unacceptable. He will definitely eat the elixir I prepared and then come to challenge me. Su Jiyu was very sure in his heart. His current mentality was like a fisherman sitting on the fishing platform. And the bait used for fishing was himself. Please ask the next challenger of the Warrior Academy to come up. This is the last time to inform you. If no one comes up to challenge Su Jiyu in 1 minute, he will automatically advance. The mechanical sound issued the last warning. Hearing this sound, the people of the Warrior Academy looked at each other, and everyone's face was full of frustration. Unless there is another unimaginable dark horse, it is impossible to fight Su Jiyu on an equal footing. And at this moment, a violent voice sounded from the back of the crowd. Su Jiyu, I want to challenge you. Zheng Lu took out his pair of brass knuckles and looked at Su Jiyu with a sinister smile. Su Jiyu also smiled after looking at Zheng Lu. The fish finally took the bait. Chapter 71. Zheng Lu. Who is he? He actually wants to challenge Sugu. When Zheng Lu spoke up, there was a sound of doubt among the crowd. It's no wonder that people in this world will only remember the number one at the top. As the number one scholar, Sugu will naturally be remembered, but who cares about the one below him? Feeling that the people in the Warrior Academy looked down upon him, Zheng Lu's face immediately became distorted. He jumped up and shot up like a cannonball. Zheng Luren stood in the air and fell towards the ring from a high place. The moment he was about to fall into the ring, he stepped hard on the ground with both feet. Boom, boom, there was a terrifying crash and then a puff of smoke and dust was raised. In order to avoid the roar, the people watching couldn't help but block their ears. When the smoke and dust cleared, a large pit was sunken on the ground where Zheng Lu's feet stood. Everyone looked at this scene, many of them opened their mouths wide and were speechless for a moment. In this large arena, the alien black gold forged using alien flesh and blood fusion technology can be used to make sophisticated weapons. Even if no one pours soul power into it, the metal itself is extremely strong. Now, someone actually smashed a deep hole into it so easily. What kind of power is this? Feeling the eyes around him looking at him, Zheng Lu had an extremely proud expression on his face. He was so excited that he almost shouted in his heart, yes, this is it. He liked this feeling of being noticed. Immediately afterwards, Zheng Lu put on his finger tiger and felt the seemingly inexhaustible power brought to him by the blood-burning soul-burning pill, as well as the eyes of the people around him. He then turned his gaze to the opponent in front of him. At this moment, he looked at Sugu, who was only 10 meters away from him, and he had a feeling that he could tear him apart at any time. We will fight later. Don't surrender right away. That would be boring. Zheng Lu looked at Sugu with a sadistic smile on his face. The smile on Sugu's face was extremely warm, and he was in a good mood now. Don't worry, it won't happen. On the airship carrying important figures from Xingwu University, those watching the broadcast in the social area had happy smiles on their faces. One is Sugu, who is impressive, and the other is Zheng Lu, who can crush alien blood and black gold. There is no doubt that for the people of Xingwu University, they have admitted a good wave of students this year. The winner of this battle must be my young master. A man with his hair combed meticulously shook his glass of red wine and spoke loudly regardless of social etiquette. He is the person in charge of a hall of the Zheng family, named Zheng Sheng. He is also Zheng Lu's cousin and confidant. Zheng Lu asked him to buy the blood-burning soul pill. Zheng Sheng looked at Su Jiyu in the real-time video with a mocking smile on his face. There is no doubt that our young master has taken the blood-burning soul pill. This pill can increase the already powerful young master's strength tenfold. No matter how strong you are, how can you compete with the young master in this state? Zheng Sheng is not worried about Zheng Lu's situation at all. What he has to do now is to push his young master out in front of these big shots in advance after his young master attracts the attention of these upper-class people in the social area, so as to accumulate more connections for him. As Zheng Sheng expected, as soon as they heard that he had something to do with Zheng Lu in the ring, many people immediately came together to inquire about him. This is Zheng Lu, the young master of my Zheng family. Logically speaking, he should be the provincial champion. He just lacks the luck to kill generals. Otherwise, Sugu will not be the champion of martial arts. The young master was also holding his breath today, wanting to prove this. And Zheng Sheng also followed the lines he designed and used them to praise Zheng Lu fiercely at these people. Suddenly, someone actually decided to cooperate with the Zheng family and invest in Zheng Lu's personal martial arts career. At this moment, on the ring, the projection countdown between Sugu and Zheng Lu reached 0. The battle between the two sides begins. At this moment, Zheng Lu could no longer hold himself back. The fingers on his fists collided with each other hard, causing a large cluster of sparks to fall to the ground. Sugu, the grudge between us that started from the martial arts test should end here. I'm going to beat you like a dog in public. Zheng Lu attacked first. He pounced towards Sugu, using his family's traditional combat skills with both fists in his hands, swinging towards Sugu's throat and heart. He moved his fists so fast that onlookers could only see a series of fist shadows. Facing the opponent's approach, Sugu also used his steps, wandering back and forth in a series of fist shadows. Hit him! Hit him! Zheng Lu roared in his heart. His fingernails had been soaked with a trace amount of nerve agent last night. Even the instrument could not detect that small amount, and it would not have a fatal effect. But as long as he can hit Sugu with a punch, as long as Zheng Lu's fist can see a little blood on Sugu, it will definitely paralyze his body for a moment. That moment of opportunity improved Zheng Lu's body function tenfold, which was enough for him to do many things. As long as I seize this gap, I can definitely defeat Sugu. Zheng Lu shouted in his heart. Zheng Lu was so fast. He directly approached Sugu and forced him to be unable to use the slash just now. Su Jiyu has been retreating. It seems that he is also afraid of the power that Zheng Lu just showed. It seems that Zheng Lu is in an advantageous position now. Can Su Jiyu break the situation? Looking at Su Jiyu, who has been gradually forced to the edge of the ring by Zheng Lu, the students of the Warrior Academy who are watching can't help but make a series of discussions. Can Zheng Lu, who is extremely strong, defeat Su Jiyu? This is the power of my young master. This so-called Su Jiyu is not worth mentioning in front of the young master. Zheng Sheng looked at the scene on the ring, raised his wine glass, and toasted with the partner he had just won. At this pace, it won't take long for Su Jiyu to be forced out of the ring. But suddenly, the smile on Zheng Sheng's face stopped, and the voices outside the ring who were still discussing who would win between Su Jiyu and Zheng Lu also disappeared. When Su Jiyu stepped on the edge of the ring, he suddenly made a sudden step and forced Zheng Lu's side. Then, as if holding a chicken, he pinched his neck with his left hand and knocked him to the ground. Zheng Lu's head was pressed against the edge of the ring, like a death row prisoner being pressed on the guillotine. The pill that can increase the body's functions tenfold, after taking it, it only has this level. Sure enough, even if the garbage is multiplied by 10, the essence is still a pile of garbage. Su Jiyu licked his lips lightly and whispered in a voice that only he and Zheng Lu could hear. How could he know about the violent blood-burning soul pill? Something that was firmly in his hands suddenly gave Zheng Lu a sense of loss of control. He raised his head and met Sugu's playful eyes. Thoughts surged through his brain in an instant. Zheng Lu suddenly thought of something. His pupils shrank sharply and he looked at Sugu almost in disbelief. He is just a commoner without any background. How dare you set up a trap to harm me? How dare he? How could he have such thoughts? Zheng Lu was surprisingly angry at this moment, and his anger mobilized his more powerful power. Ah! Zheng Lu shouted. He wanted to use this force to break free. He wanted to make Sugu regret it. Boom! Boom! Zheng Lu struggled hard, but his entire body was firmly controlled by Sugu's joint skills. He could only move slightly and slap the ground with his palms a few times. Like a fish on the chopping board, flopping for the last few times. It's time for you to accept your fate, Sugu said softly, but extremely coldly, with completely undisguised murderous intent. Zheng Lu wanted to shout the words, I surrender, but his throat was pinched by Sugu, who cut off his voice with just a slight force. Zheng Lu, who was being choked, looked at Sugu with an expression of incomparable resentment on his face. But Sugu ignored him. He held his throat with one hand and raised his free hand into a fist. The soul power of his whole body condensed on the fist, and the fist shone with a faint white light. Boom! A punch hit the opponent's heart, and a collapse sound like a building being exploded sounded from the ring. The students who were watching looked at the scene in front of them and could hardly believe their eyes. Sugu's punch caused the entire arena to sink several inches into the ground. The entire arena, with Sugu as the center, was constantly cracking in all directions, like glass that had been hit hard. Since when did the school arena become so fragile? They couldn't help but think about it. Jung Lu, who met Sugu's punch head-on, was like a shrimp that had been stripped of its thread. He had lost consciousness and his body began to twitch instinctively. After a while, he regained consciousness with the help of the warrior's powerful physique and the effect of the life potential squeezing elixir. At this moment, Sugu's fist was raised high again. Whoa, poke, provoke, chew, knee. Jung Lu's eyes at this moment had transformed from resentment to fear and pleading. Feeling the power of that punch personally, and Sugu's firm will to kill, he understood that if he didn't do something, he might really be killed here in front of everyone. He was afraid. A sneer appeared on Sugu's face. He stared into the other person's eyes and said, "After I finished my martial arts exam, you helped spread rumors. When I went to the 1,000-story martial arts pagoda, you inexplicably tried to harm me. What? You can't stand it anymore." Boom. A punch with the same power hit Jung Lu directly in the throat this time, and his vocal cords were destroyed on the spot. Sugu's other hand was free, and then he used both fists together, like a pile driver, denting the ring inch by inch, almost sinking into the soil. "Stop this fight, stop the fight quickly." Zhang Sheng, who was on the airship, looked at the sudden turn of events and went crazy. He crushed a red wine glass in his hand, glass shards were pierced into his hand, and the wine was spilled on his expensive suit. But at this moment, nothing matters. He ran wildly in the airship, grabbing the collar of everyone who seemed to be in a high position and capable of stopping this battle, and repeated a sentence as if he was crazy. "Stop, stop this fight, nothing will happen to my young master from the Zheng family." He lost his composure, and soon the security personnel on the airship were called, and Zhang Sheng's body was immediately restrained. As if to appease his mood, a uniformed staff member came over, wiped away his sweat and said to Zhang Sheng, "Sir, we understand your feelings, but please believe that our Starry Sky Martial Arts University has invested a lot of resources in this freshman competition. Our mechanical referee will monitor the player's vital signs in real time. If Zheng Lu's vital signs really drop below the safe value, we will immediately terminate the battle. It's not a big deal if the vocal cords are destroyed. It's not an important organ. With the current level of technology, Zheng Lu's stem cells can be used to grow an organ that is exactly the same as the original one. There won't be any differences." Then, the staff member said in surprise, "But having said that, your young master's body is really strange. Logically speaking, the first time a normal person received Sugu's punch, the mechanical referee's alarm would have been triggered. In order to prevent accidents, we immediately mobilized the referee based on the data. I found that every time Zheng Lu's health dropped, it would quickly rise again. Does Zheng Lu have some very powerful self-healing ability?" After hearing these words, many people looked towards Zhang Sheng again with eager eyes. I hope he can give an answer or deepen the cooperative relationship between them. A power with a healing effect is a special power of considerable value. Many martial arts universities will directly recruit students with this power into the special power department regardless of their martial arts test scores. Even after being punched so many times by Sugu, he was still not dead. Zheng Lu's special ability is extremely valuable. Listening to the other party's questions and feeling the eyes of the people around him, Zhang Sheng felt like he was going to vomit blood. The young master's self-healing ability is based on the blood-burning soul pill. Although this pill, which is prohibited from circulation by federal law, can temporarily increase the body's body by 10 times, it will overdraw his own life. In other words, every recovery of Zheng Lu was based on the consumption of life. If I tell these people now what the young master ate, the young master may be directly expelled from the Star Martial University, or even directly sent to the Federation's Warrior Investigation Bureau. This is considered an act of betrayal of the young patriarch, and I will definitely be punished by my family when I return. But if I don't say. Zhang Sheng recalled the heavy punches that Sugu had just hit on the young master's body, and felt a chill in his heart. The young master may be beaten to death. Zhang Sheng was extremely confused. No matter what accident happens to Jung-Lu here, as the caregiver, he will definitely not have an easy time. Sugu. Zhang Sheng has never hated such a person so much. Everyone, my young master's abilities were obtained from taking the blood-burning soul pill, not his original abilities. Zhang Sheng ultimately chose the lesser of two evils, directly stating the truth. And soon, the two security guards holding him put him down. The entire social area of the airship fell silent. After a while, someone said hesitantly, "Mr. Zhang Sheng, it's a bit late for you to say this." Zhang Sheng's pupils suddenly opened wide, and he quickly ran to the live broadcast screen. On the ring, Sugu still had his spring breeze-like smile, while Jung-Lu next to him fell there, like a dead dog being slaughtered on the roadside. The arena made of alien blood and black gold sank inch by inch after being bombarded by Sugu's punches, and was submerged into the soil. The entire area looked like buildings that had been blasted by missiles, and Jung-Lu fell in the ruins. His hair turned gray and his body was as dry firewood. His eyes were rounded with pain, and his chapped mouth opened as wide as possible. This horrific death scene made everyone watching feel a little uncomfortable. He was punched to death by Sugu, and the pill he took kept tapping his life potential, pulling him back from the line of life and death. At the last moment of his life, Jung-Lu suffered as much as Ling Kai. Sugu dusted himself off, walked away from Jung-Lu and walked down the ring expressionlessly. Wherever he passed, everyone subconsciously made way for him. These warriors from the Warrior Academy looked at Sugu, with expressions on their faces ranging from fear and horror to pretending to be calm and gloating. What a dead person. On the first day of their freshman competition, someone was beaten to death. It's been years since something like this happened. Whether it was an accident or intentional. A ruthless person like Sugu who dares to beat people to death in public should try not to provoke him in the future and stay as far away as possible. You still want to run away. You killed someone and you still want to run away. A hover car roared down from high in the sky, and the people inside were still in the car, roaring loudly in Sugu's direction. The hover car stopped next to Jung-Lu's body. Zhang Sheng trotted out of the car. His previously meticulously styled hair was now extremely messy, and his straight suit was also full of wrinkles. He held Jung-Lu's body and after sensing that it was indeed a piece of meat that would not react in any way, he angrily shouted at Sugu, "You killed the young head of our Zhang family in public. Murder, do you think you can run away?" "I didn't want to run away at all." Su Jiyu looked at Zhang Sheng with a puzzled look and said matter-of-factly, "I just defended 2 games. According to the rules, I have a certain rest time. I will fight again after the rest period. The next challenger." After hearing this, the students in the Warrior Academy subconsciously rolled their eyes. "Do you still want to defend? If you are guarding here, who dares and is qualified to attack? I don't want my life." And Sugu's confident speech made Zhang Sheng, who came to ask questions, trembling with anger. "You guy, don't you know that you just killed my young master? Don't you feel any guilt at all?" After hearing what the other party said, the expression on Sugu's face was extremely innocent and aggrieved. He gently rubbed his chin, and then said in confusion, "Guilt, my battle with Jung-Lu has always been in accordance with the rules." During this period, he did not show any intention to admit defeat. And the referee robot has been checking Jung-Lu's vital signs. If his health drops below the safety line, I will naturally stop my action immediately. What does Jung-Lu's death have to do with me? After Zhang Sheng heard Sugu's words, he gritted his teeth angrily. This kid is still pretending to be confused. My young master can't admit defeat, not because you held his throat from the beginning to prevent him from speaking. Wasn't it because you shattered his vocal cords with one punch? Soon one after another floating cars came down from the sky. It was the school principal Cheng Zi who asked General Heian. When they saw these 2 big figures coming forward in person, all the students straightened their backs subconsciously. General Yin glanced at Jung-Lu's body, looked at Su Jiyu and said, "This kid ate the blood-burning soul-burning pill that is banned from circulation by the Federation, and died due to the dual effects of your attack and the pill's life-sucking effect. Strictly speaking, Jung-Lu is indeed to blame for this incident. Of course, the premise is that you didn't notice anything strange about Jung-Lu during this battle and didn't take advantage of the situation to kill someone intentionally. As long as you didn't do that, you're innocent." These words seemed to be said accidentally, but they were full of meaning, and Sugu understood it immediately. He said quickly, "Huh. So this guy Zhenglu can still be such a waste after taking medicine. How could I have imagined this?" After listening to Sugu's words, Zheng Sheng was so angry that he almost vomited blood. If he hadn't been unable to defeat Sugu, he would have put down the young master's body and fought with this kid. You fool, speaking human language. But what his young master couldn't do even after taking the blood-burning soul pill, he naturally couldn't do it. What's more, there was General Yin standing next to Sugu, so he didn't dare to act rashly. Zheng Sheng's eyes turned to another luxurious hover car that came down with General Yin. He looked at the figures of the 5 people coming out of the car and said almost kowtow. "Several adults on the school board, you must make the decision for our Zheng family. Even purchasing illegal drugs is not a capital offense under federal law." This Sugu deliberately pinched the young master's neck when he captured the young master, and then destroyed the young master's vocal cords. He must know something. This was not an accidental death at all, but a deliberate murder. After listening to Zheng Sheng's words, the elders on the school board frowned slightly. In front of so many forces, the freshmen competed so hard, and their faces were a little strange. Several people looked at Su Jiyu standing aside, and saw that the young man's eyes were calm and open, as if he didn't care about Zheng Sheng's accusations at all. How to deal with him? Their school board just agreed to cooperate deeply with some small families this year, and a young master of a family died in the freshman competition. If they do nothing, their school board will lose face. But it is even more unrealistic to mess with the school's genius for a drug-taking scumbag. The looks of these people wandered back and forth between Su Jiyu and Zheng Sheng, and their expressions were extremely tangled. At this moment, an old man with white hair came out of Principal Cheng Zuan's hovering car, supported by General Yin. He looked at the scene around him and said, "If you trust me, how about letting me handle this matter?" Looking at the person who spoke, the eyes of several people on the school board immediately lit up. If Professor Lan is willing to handle this matter, it would be great. Professor Lan Qing is the most famous in our school, and I believe he will give a fair judgment. In that case, let's just settle this matter. Hearing that someone was willing to take the initiative to take this matter, the school board kicked the ball over in a few words. Lan Qing nodded slightly and dealt with the people on the school board one by one. Su Jiyu frowned slightly. He didn't know why the old man's eyes would glance at him from time to time. Hearing the decision of both the board of directors and the principal, and that instructor Lan Qing was willing to take care of the matter, Zheng Sheng secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Ever since young master Zheng Lu chose Starry Sky Martial Arts University, in order to find a good instructor for the young master and give him a better future in martial arts, their Zheng family has spent a lot of effort on gifts. Lan Qing, the most famous instructor at Starry Sky Martial Arts University, is naturally the top priority. Although he has made it clear that he will no longer recruit disciples, it is still a lot of money to buy a horse's bones. Our Zheng family has given Lan Qing so many good things. This time we don't ask him to be partial to our Zheng family, we only ask him to make a fair and just judgment. In the battle just now, Su Jiyu, as the opponent fighting with the young master, couldn't have failed to notice the abnormality of the young master's body during the battle. But after noticing it, he still punched the young master one punch after another. This mud-leg did it on purpose. Zheng Sheng's eyes stared at Su Jiyu, and the hatred in his heart could not be concealed. Lan Qing's reputation is excellent, and it is impossible for him to ruin his reputation for a student who has nothing to do with him. In addition to the things sent by the Zheng family and the obvious doubts in the battle, this mudleg will definitely suffer a big loss. Take Su Jiyu to the single-person training room first, and the selection of the Warrior Academy representatives will be temporarily suspended. Since there is no impact on other academies, continue your ring battle. Lan Qing gave the order expressionlessly. His eyes were like a magnet that was attracted, and he kept falling on Su Jiyu. I don't know what he was thinking. Su Jiyu didn't say much when he saw how things developed, and his expression on his face remained calm. After he had a plan to kill Zheng Lu in his mind and had already put it into practice, he had a psychological expectation of paying the price. After all, on the surface, federal laws are still deterrent, and some investigations cannot be escaped. But even so, he still has to do it. One punch is enough to prevent 100 punches. Zheng Lu dared to plot against him. If he didn't pay a little price, everyone would think Su Jiyu was a weak person. Student Su Jiyu, please come with us. Two school security guards drove the escort car to Su Gu's side. They did not use coercive means, but politely made a gesture of invitation. Okay, thank you for your trouble. Su Jiyu nodded, then got into the car and drove away. Su Gu's house arrest lasted until the evening, when the first day of the freshman competition ended. Although he was a little anxious, Su Jiyu was still in his own practice room, killing time by running the Jodian Gongfa. Next, I guess we will start interrogating. I just need to stick to one point, that I had no knowledge of Zheng Lu's elixir, and this was an accident. As long as you deny this, I didn't kill him intentionally. There will be punishment, but it's acceptable. Su Jiyu was thinking about the next response plan in his heart. At this moment, the door of the practice room where he was imprisoned was pushed open. Instructor Lan Qing walked in, followed by two people behind him. After looking at the two people, Su Gu's pupils shrank slightly. Principal Chengji asked, "There is also General Yin from the Federation, how can people of this level come here? Does the school attach great importance to this incident? Then we have to think about how to deal with hypnosis-like supernatural powers." Just when Su Jiyu was thinking about it, Lan Qing walked towards him quickly at a speed that was completely unlike that of an old man. When the two were at an arm's length and their eyes met, Lan Qing's big hand suddenly patted Su Jiyu on the shoulder. "Little classmate, is the practice you practice really, Tianyuan Gong?" Quote. Su Jiyu listened to the other party's excited tone and excited eyes, and didn't know how to answer. He had just simulated many questions here, but he never thought that the other party would ask him this. Does this have anything to do with the fact that he killed someone in public a few hours ago? Seeing that Su Jiyu didn't answer for a long time, Lan Qing's hand on his shoulder increased by 3 points. "Little brother, tell me quickly, is your technique the Tianyuan Gong? Aren't you here for Zheng Lu's matter?" Su Jiyu asked tentatively, and his words deepened the wrinkles on Lan Qing's forehead, as if he was thinking about something. After a moment, he turned to look at General Yin and Chengji beside him and asked, "Who is Zheng Lu? Is it important?" Su Jiyu. "It's the name of the man who was killed by this kid a few hours ago. Teacher, didn't you watch that battle and determine that his technique is very similar to the Tianyuan Gong, but the quality of the soul power produced is much higher?" General Yin explained. The heir of that small family turned out to be Zheng Lu. Lan Qing looked as if he had suddenly realized something. Then, the expression on his face became disdainful. After taking drugs, his level is only this level. It can be said that he has no value at all. This worthless waste dies, so what does it have to do with me? When a warrior fights head-on, he always thinks of sinister and mean means. How can I be fair to such a person? And I want to hurt the genius of our Xingwu University for him. I'm not that stupid. Listening to this matter-of-fact statement, Su Jiyu smiled happily, and his nervous nerves relaxed. This is really a dark and unfair world. Oh, I am a privileged class now, so it's okay. But then, the expression on Su Gu's face became a little confused. Since it has nothing to do with Zheng Lu's affairs, why did the president of Xingwu University, the best mentor, and the general of the Federation come here together? You came here with such a big scene, just to ask me about the technique. I just didn't exchange the technique, so who did I offend? Su Jiyu shook his head, laughed at himself, and answered Lan Qing's question. The technique I practice is indeed the Tianyuan Gong. As for the similarities and differences in soul power, it is because I made some modifications to the circuit of the Jodian movement of this technique. Such modifications will make it smoother and more comfortable for me to use soul power in battle. It is my personal modification of the technique. After hearing Su Gu's casual words, Lan Qing looked at Su Gu's expression and became extremely excited. He kept muttering in his mouth, and I didn't know what he was saying. General Yin and Cheng Ziwen, the president of Xingwu University, who were standing aside, also had their pupils shrank, and looked at Su Gu's eyes as if they were looking at a monster. Su Gu looked at Lan Qing, General Yin and Chengji, the principal of Xingwu University, who were surrounding him. The expressions of the three of them were quite strange. The gazes of the three people made Su Gu feel uncomfortable in his heart, so he asked with some anxiety, "What's wrong?" Is there anything wrong with me like this? Facing Sugu's doubts, the three of them looked at each other. After a while, Principal Cheng Zuan carefully considered his words and spoke slowly. Unlike some powerful alien races in the stars, human beings can directly engrave memories into their genes and pass on knowledge. For human beings, martial arts represent the inheritance of martial arts from generation to generation and represent the cornerstone of martial arts. Although the martial arts in this world are as vast as the sea, their effectiveness and grades are also divided into high and low. But no matter how weak the technique is, behind it is either written by a generation of geniuses who condensed their lifelong talents, or it is the hard work of a family that has gone through several generations of hard work and search. Quote, although in order to allow more people to practice, the exercise method is bound to make some trade-offs. But wanting to modify the exercise method to make it more suitable for oneself is simply not something that ordinary people can do. If you try to be clever in this regard, there is a high probability that you will go crazy and explode and die. After listening to Noriko's question, Sugu frowned slightly and said, so my current situation is very dangerous. The Tian Yuan Gong, practiced by Su Jiyu, was often modified, and he did not want to create hidden dangers for his future martial arts practice. Lan Qing said with a complicated expression. No, on the contrary. I discovered by watching the fluctuations of your soul power during the battle that your condition is too good and too stable, and it can even be said that it is a little abnormal. Although the Tian Yuan Gong you have is not completely perfect yet, you will never go crazy if you continue to practice it. I even have an inexplicable feeling that you are not making slight modifications to Tian Yuan Gong at all, but creating a new one based on it. After hearing this, Su Jiyu breathed a sigh of relief. Since instructor Lan Qing said this, it proved that it was feasible for him to go down this road. But looking at the looks of a few people, it seemed like a very big deal for me to change my technique. It actually attracted such attention from these three well-informed and powerful people. Sugu carefully considered his words and asked, so it is completely impossible to change the technique to adapt to oneself? The corners of General Yin's mouth twitched, and he couldn't help but said, it is true that there are some young talented warriors who will fine-tune the details of the techniques they practice. But do you know what kind of resources it takes to do this? It requires a strong person with a physical body that can cross the sea of stars. He will take the warrior who wants to modify the technique with him and provide one-on-one personal guidance. That strong person needs to expend a lot of effort to observe the movement route of that genius every day and every week. Only in this way can we make the most perfect adjustments to the exercises based on the actual situation. The force that is willing to cultivate successors in this way must be a giant that neither I nor your principal can offend. And now, there is actually a young man who did it by himself without consuming any resources. After finishing speaking, the three people headed by Lan Qing looked at Sugu as if they were looking at a monster. After hearing these people's explanations, Sugu's face twitched. After every battle, I automatically update my skills. Is it so exaggerated? It actually requires consuming elite-level experts among the human race and spending a lot of time to do it. It seems that I still want to keep it simple. Compared with this matter, killing Zheng Lu is indeed a small matter. If he is really exposed, I am afraid that there will be many families and forces with far greater power than Xingwu University who will put pressure on him and want to investigate him. Thinking of this, the expression on Sugu's face turned into a headache. No matter what, Sugu, your skills need to be completed as soon as possible. Don't let other interested people notice your situation. Lan Qing also rubbed his temples. This may be the first time for their Xingwu University, because the students' the talent is too much and gives me a headache. He, Lan Qing, has been a tutor at Xingkong Martial Arts University for 60 years and is over 100 years old. This is the first time he has seen this situation. After that, I asked Chengji to help solve the matter in Sugu's school files. He erased the practice of Tian Yuan Gong from the files and replaced it with new ones. By the way, he also recorded the details of Sugu's battles. Process the video. Fortunately, Sugu only left these battle videos in the school. As long as these battles are processed, no one will notice. Quote, as for the origin of the new technique, it is said that Yin Jun got the opportunity while doing in-depth development and excavation of the virtual spiritual world. He met Su Ji-yu and felt that he was destined to him, so he passed it on to him. After hearing their teacher's instructions, General Yin and Cheng Zuan both said, yes. After hearing this, Sugu bowed solemnly to Lan Qing and the others. Thank you seniors for your help. The other party was obviously trying to cover it up for him to prevent his abnormal skills from being noticed by interested parties. Su Ji-yu accepted this favor. After arranging all these, Lan Qing looked at Sugu with a benevolent face and said, Sugu, you chose your major as the command system with the idea of referring to more exercises to bless your improved skills. Tian Yuan Gong. That's right. Lan Qing looked at the smiling boy with a trace of emotion on his face and said, I guess those other instructors who didn't change the transitional skills because you chose the command system can't imagine what kind of genius you are. And you have a longer-term plan for your martial arts path than ordinary instructors. Listening to the praise from instructor Lan Qing, General Yin and Cheng Zuan were a little surprised. As the instructor's direct disciples, one of them has become a general of the Federation and the other has become the president of a top martial arts university. Even the two of them rarely heard Lan Qing praise people like this, let alone a teenager. Su Ji-yu, your current skills can no longer be called Tianyuan Gong. Have you thought of the name of the new skills now? Lan Qing looked at Su Ji-yu and said. Hearing the other party's question, Su Ji-yu stroked his chin, thought for a moment and said, I hope my skills absorb the strengths of hundreds of schools. If so, let's call it Wanxiang Tianyuan Gong. Wanxiang Tianyuan. Lan Qing slowly recited these 4 words, then nodded and said, yes, a good name. From now on, the name of the technique you practice will be called Wanxiang Tianyuan Gong. Principal Chengji nodded after hearing this, and then he would enter the name of the exercise into Sugu's student file. The hidden dangers in Sugu's body have been eliminated. That. Sugu pursed his lips in confusion, hesitated for a moment and then said, I heard Yu Kunshao say before that during the freshman competition, if a student performs outstandingly, he or she can make some moderate demands to the school's management. I wonder if my performance in the first round of the Warrior Academy meets the requirements. I want to enter again, the 1,000-layer tower of martial arts in our school. Sugu looked at Noriko and asked with burning eyes, Road. Although it was a bit shameless to ask such a question directly in front of others, Su Guxian couldn't care less. He still could not forget his vast reserve of combat skills in the 1,000-story tower, which was as vast as the sea of stars. On the first day of school, I only studied for 1 day and barely finished learning the combat skills on the first floor of the 1,000-story tower. Even so, Sugu felt that he had benefited a lot. If given the chance, he would naturally want to enter again. He had a hunch that he could undergo some kind of transformation there. Do you want to enter the 1,000-story tower again? Noriko asked with a strange expression on his face when he heard Sugu's request. He pondered for a moment and then said, actually, with your dominant performance in those 2 games, it's not impossible for you to score again. Sugu's face looked happy, but Noriko's question immediately changed. But now the trouble is, you just killed someone, and the person you killed was a member of a noble family, and now you are being targeted by the school board. To be honest, the school's decision to deepen cooperation with some small and medium-sized aristocratic families in recent years was strongly promoted by the group of people on the school board. Although with the potential you have shown, these people will not kill Zheng Lu. It's too embarrassing for you, but they will definitely make you feel embarrassed about such a trivial matter. After all, you have lost their face. Besides, it is not in line with the rules to open the 1,000-story martial arts tower for a new student multiple times in a short period of time. If I raise this matter with the school board, it will definitely be rejected. After hearing this, Sugu's hot eyes dimmed, and he sighed slightly in his heart. After all, he killed someone, and I'm afraid this is the invisible price he has to pay. However, it's not completely impossible. Noriko looked at Sugu's disappointed eyes and said after a moment of confusion. Sugu raised his head sharply and looked at Noriko's face, his eyes filled with eager questioning. You must be the number 1 freshman this year. Noriko asked word by word. And it has to be the kind of number 1 without any controversy. No one can stand up and point out after watching your fight and say, if something happens, the winner will be so and so. Only in this way can I ask the school to let you break the rules and enter the martial arts 1,000-layer tower again for a short period of time. And those on the school board can't find any reason to stop it. After hearing Noriko's question, Sugu was stunned for a moment and then said, "As long as we do this, is it okay?" "Yes, as long as you can do this, I guarantee as the principal that you can enter the 1,000-story martial arts tower again." A bright smile appeared on Sugu's face. "Okay, just a word from a gentleman. Hurry up and whip your horse." The two looked at each other and smiled, making this agreement. Both parties here got answers to the questions they wanted to know. Now Suji-Yu naturally has no reason to stay here. After saying hello to the three seniors, he left the practice room where he had been locked up for a long time. Lan Qing and his party looked at Sugu's leaving figure with expressions of emotion on their faces. "You are so young, yet he so casually agreed to your outrageous request. To get first place, and to be the first place that no one is allowed to question, tisk tisk. I can only say that he is worthy of being a young man. Maybe I was just like him when I was practicing martial arts at Xingwu University." When Sugu could no longer be seen in the sky, General Yin looked at Cheng Zi and let out a few sighs. "This Sugu just looks restrained, but deep down he may be even more arrogant than you were back then. It's easy to get first place, but it's hard to beat the crowd with your performance." The instructor stood among the three. Lan Qing also chuckled. There is no shortage of people in the world who can find fault with others. If you want to make everyone shut up, what you need is not to defeat your opponent, but to crush your opponent. You need to make it clear to everyone that those who compete with you and those around you are not on the same level at all, otherwise you will definitely attract criticism. He may have a chance to crush the other people, but there is only one person who may be in some trouble. Noriko asked calmly. "That heir to the Feng family, right?" Lan Qing asked. He also had an impression of the young master from an aristocratic family who wanted to become his disciple. He was a very good student. The Feng family is a medium-sized family, and the skills practiced by Feng Yan are also tailor-made like Sugu. And Sugu's, Wanshang Tian Yuan Gong, is based on the transitional method of Tian Yuan Gong. The starting point is too low, and it is still unknown what level it can reach after the final completion. And Feng Yan must be practicing the Feng family's family-inherited family method. As a blueprint method, the starting point is much higher than Suji-Yu. In front of Feng Yan, Suji-Yu has no advantage. Lan Qing shook his head slightly. He has met both of them, so he naturally couldn't help but comment casually. Today's discovery made Lan Qing realize Sugu's bottomless potential, but even if the potential is high, now everyone has just entered the Zunwo realm for a few days, and Sugu's talent potential must not be fully realized. Even if Sugu's achievements in the future may far exceed Feng Yan, the two are probably still on par now. "Teacher, do you think Suji-Yu will lose?" General Yin frowned. Although they didn't spend much time together, he felt that Sugu's temper was to his liking, so he couldn't help but speak for him. Lan Qing's mind flashed with the scene of Suji-Yu killing people. After a moment's silence, he said, "If the two were to fight to the death, I think Suji-Yu would win. But now it's a ring battle, and there's no reason for either of them to fight to the death. I think it's a 50-50 chance at best. And it's impossible for either side to completely crush the other." After hearing what the teacher said, General Yin sighed, but also nodded. He recognized this judgment. "Lao Cheng, since that kid wants to go to the 1,000 layers martial arts tower so much, you can help him fight for it in advance," General Yin said with a clenched teeth. After thinking for a moment, Cheng Zuan smiled bitterly and said, "I can only give it a try, but I have to say it in advance. The hope is not great. Okay, it's getting late. You two should hurry up and do things. Remember to help that kid cover up better and don't let him be targeted." According to the joint judgment of our school principal Cheng Zuan and famous tutor Lan Qing, the death of Zheng Lu in the battle between Suji-Yu and Zheng Lu was an accident and had no direct connection with our school's freshman Suji-Yu. Even so, Zheng Lu died in the battle with Suji-Yu after all. Out of humanitarian considerations, it is still decided to punish Suji-Yu accordingly. The content of the punishment is temporarily undecided because Suji-Yu needs to continue to participate in the freshman competition. The next morning, the notice on the handling of the death in the freshman competition yesterday was posted on the school's official website. Looking at the above content, many people's first reaction was, "That's it." Looking at the above meaning, Soo Ji-yoo can still participate in the next freshman competition normally. Is there any punishment for Soo Ji-yoo here? Still undecided. You are putting it on the trailer. However, regarding such things in school, most students will not say much. Moreover, Jung-Loo himself took banned drugs in the freshman competition, which violated the taboo of the students who wanted fairness, and no one was willing to stand up and speak for him. As for other unrelated families, officials were too lazy to care about the mess of Xinwu University, let alone the qualifications to care. The entire Tianjin city is Xinwu University's private land. The local government is strictly speaking still a tenant of Xinwu University. Although it is not explicitly stated, sometimes the resolutions posted by Xinwu University on its official website are even more useful than the law. In this way, a controversial topic of a warrior being bought and sold banned drugs and beaten to death in the ring was tacitly ignored by many people. Many people hope that this matter will just pass. Except for the Jung family. It's not yet determined, I'll code you. Boom. In the accommodation room where Xinwu University receives foreign guests, Jung-Loo's father Jung Xiaoyang looked at the information on the official website and punched the screen in front of him. Jung Sheng, don't bury my son's body for now. I will go to the freshman competition to see what Soo Ji-yoo is all about. If he is not a genius who can defy the heavens, even if I have to sacrifice some of my Jung family's foundation and do it myself, I will make him pay the price. I will comfort my son's body with Soo-goo's blood. Only in this way can my son be buried in the ancestral tomb with peace of mind. Kneeling beside the body of Jung-Loo, the young master of the Jung family, Jung Sheng felt much more at ease when he saw the head of his family like this. Since the head of the family was willing to take action, Soo Ji-yoo must not be able to retreat unscathed. At this time, he remembered the image of Soo Ji-yoo being beaten to death by the young master Jung-Loo. That was the young master who had taken the violent blood-burning soul pill. Jung Sheng said sadly, "Then patriarch, what if Soo Ji-yoo is really a genius who can defy the heavens?" Jung Xiaoyang exhaled through his nose, looked at Jung Sheng and said, "Have you been in the Jung family for so many years in vain? If Soo Ji-yoo is really able to defy the heavens, do you need me to teach you how to do it? Then the body of my Jung family's rebellious son cannot be buried. Burn it to ashes quickly and prepare a valuable gift to send to Su Shaosha to thank him for clearing the door for my Jung family. Then scatter my rebellious son's ashes in front of him." Jung Sheng. Looking at Jung Sheng's incredible expression, Jung Xiaoyang looked at him like an idiot. What's there to be about? If the one who killed my son was a commoner who was under the control of my Jung family, then that commoner dared to touch the tiger whiskers of my Jung family, and I would naturally find a way to avenge my son. But if you offended a genius who could truly transform into a dragon, I can't sacrifice my family for an unfilial son. I have the skills to avenge an unfilial son, why don't I find a woman and start a new account? Jung Sheng. Quote. The clan leader is wise, I can't wait. At the arena where the freshman competition was held, a large group of students gathered there, just like yesterday. But unlike yesterday, the original square formation had disappeared. The eliminated students spontaneously stood around the arena at this time, looking at the students on the arena who had been selected to represent the academy to participate in the battle. The 4 major martial arts academies, 3 people from each academy, a total of 12 people stood solemnly on the central arena where the fierce battle was fought yesterday. These 12 people are the most outstanding freshmen of Starry Sky Martial Arts University, representing the best students of Starry Sky Martial Arts University this year. At this moment, the 12 people lined up in a row, and their eyes were looking at a peer who was walking towards the ring with a relaxed look. After the school confirmed Soo-goo's innocence, he regained the opportunity to participate in the freshman competition. If it were an ordinary student, the freshman competition would never be paused for him, but Soo Ji-yoo was different. Who can say that he can beat the terrifying strength he showed in the 2 games? The ultimate goal of the freshman competition is to select the strongest. If Soo Ji-yoo does not participate, then this competition will be meaningless. At this moment, Soo Ji-yoo walked leisurely and walked opposite the 12 people. Looking at the eyes of the 12 people looking at him, he showed a harmless and gentle smile. However, none of the 12 people believed Sugu's tricks. These people confronted Su Jiyu and inexplicably felt a sense of pressure. Looking at these people confronting each other, the students who had been confirmed to have been eliminated and were now watching on the sidelines began to talk. Do you know, the technique Su Jiyu practices is not Tian Yuan Gong at all, but a mysterious technique given by General Yin who came to watch the freshman competition this year. Holy crap, is it true? Why did the federal general give Sugu the technique? Of course it's true. General Yin admitted it himself yesterday. It is said that the two met in the virtual spiritual world and were friends for many years. After Sugu killed Zheng Lu, there was still no punishment. It was just to look at General Yin's face. Let me just say it. Based on Sugu's performance in yesterday's battle, how could the skill he practiced be the transitional skill, Tian Yuan Gong? Sure enough, they are hiding their clumsiness. These people who like to pretend to be pigs and eat tigers are really disgusting. Listening to these discussions, Zhan Yu's face was filled with grief and indignation as Sugu beat him up in the crowd. If you weren't practicing Tian Yuan Gong, why didn't you tell me earlier? With your strength, are you still trying to show your weakness to the enemy? Dirty. You are so dirty when it comes to playing tactics. Above the competition arena, there is a circle surrounded by students. Several hover cars were parked in the sky, and inside were sitting outstanding instructors from Star Martial University, important officials from Tianjin City, and aristocratic families who had been invited to watch the battle. At this moment, their eyes are also on the ring. This year's freshman competition, who will win? Everyone was very curious. On a small floating spaceship with extremely exaggerated and luxurious interior and exterior decorations, like a flying palace, 5 men and women in colorful clothes sat on a round table. These people are the board of directors of Xingwu University, the legal owners of this martial arts university. Is that Sugu? How disgusting it looks. A woman wearing ancient costumes looked at Sugu's face and said angrily. A middle-aged man with a height of 2 meters said, Narizi asked that guy and handed us an application tonight, saying that he wanted Sugu to enter the martial arts 1,000-layer pagoda again. Turn down. This is absolutely impossible. As soon as this proposal was uttered, it was immediately refuted by everyone. That kid was too cruel. He killed Zheng Lu in front of everyone. Now because instructor Lan Qing is willing to protect him, he doesn't have to be punished. Those small aristocratic families who have just established a cooperative relationship with us are all guessing that what are the political intentions of the school's actions. I was bleeding a lot in order to appease those people. Seeing as Nasugu still has some talent in martial arts, it would be nice not to bother him. He has the nerve to make this request again. When this matter was mentioned, the expressions on the faces of these 5 people became angry. Obviously, instructor Lan Qing's attitude towards Sugu made them very unhappy. But at that time, he had agreed to delegate power to Lan Qing and would not say anything more at this moment. Forget it, let's not talk about these bad things. The Feng family is very sincere in cooperating with us this year, and even the young family master sent it over. The woman in gorgeous clothes said. The kid named Feng Yan is really amazing. It is said that no one dared to challenge him when he was standing in the ring. The teacher at the Assassin Academy had no choice but to discuss taking him out alone to advance directly, and then he would be promoted here. Based on this, 3 students will be reselected to represent the Assassin Academy. Given the strength of the young master of the Feng family, he is probably the one who will win the championship in our school this year. The 5 school board members chatted happily. On the ring, 13 people were facing each other. A boy wearing a black student union uniform walked onto the stage with a relaxed expression. The freshman competition has passed the selection stage between departments, and mechanical referees are no longer used to judge, and real referees are started. Feeling someone approaching, Sugu glanced over. Unexpectedly, the referee was an old acquaintance of his. Yu Kunshao, vice president of the student union. Yu Kunshao walked slowly to the middle of the confrontation between Sugu and the 12 people. He looked at Sugu and greeted him with a smile. Didn't you change your technique? You actually lied to me last time. It's not authentic. Sorry, senior, I'll treat you to dinner another day. After the 2 briefly exchanged greetings, Yu Kunshao introduced the rules of this selection battle that was temporarily added because of Sugu. This year's situation is special. There is a very powerful student who had to interrupt the first academy selection competition due to force majeure. Considering the strong combat power shown by classmate Sugu, it is really a loss to miss him in the freshman competition. So we decided that Sugu can randomly choose one of these people to compete. As long as he wins, he'll have his spot. As soon as Yu Kunshao finished speaking, the melon-eating students who were watching the game let out bursts of gloating sounds. Someone is going to be in trouble today. Take a bet, who do you think Sugu will choose next? The chance is 1 in 12. I bet on Xiao Junjian from the Assassin Academy. Wu Zhen from Distance College. Reload Lu Guang over there. ... Listening to the unfavorable voices of the audience below, the 12 people confronting Sugu bit their lips. Even if they didn't want to admit it, they understood in their hearts. Compared with Sugu's performance yesterday when he killed the special recruit Zanyu with a single blow and directly hammered the arena into the ground with a pair of fists, their strength is indeed far behind. I didn't expect that even if I succeeded in defending this year, I would still have to face such a monster. The 12 people unintentionally clenched their weapons, and some were sweating. They looked at Su Gaian's calm expression and silently prayed in their hearts not to choose them next. Sugu's eyes glanced at the 12 people, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. If it were normal times, maybe Sugu would really go through the motions slowly and leisurely according to the rules. After all, it was just to get first place, and there was no need to be too showy. But it's different now, since Principal Noriko's request is the first one that no one can question. I'm sorry, I am here today to humiliate you severely. He suddenly spoke calmly. Referee, I want to ask if I can pick all of these 12 people by myself. As soon as Sugu's words came out, the expressions on the faces of the 12 people who were waiting for his reply were stunned at first, and then their eyes widened. Several people looked at Sugu's face, his expression full of anger. We all admit that you are better than us in single combat. After all, there are some differences between people. But what do you mean by this sentence? What do you think we are? Those admitted to the Starry Sky Martial Arts University are either the top talents in a city or the young patriarchs of some small families. Among these people, we are also among the best warriors. What do you think we are? A beggar who can be dismissed casually. Those people looked at Sugu and could hardly restrain themselves. If it wasn't allowed by the rules and they really couldn't beat him, they would have swarmed him long ago. The entire audience fell into a dead silence because of Sugu's words. They looked at Sugu with only one question in their eyes. Are you crazy? Warriors of different professions have different characteristics, and adding them up is not as simple as 1 plus 1. Maybe Mr. Suji Yu didn't sleep well when he got up today, and he's talking nonsense now. As the referee, Yu Kunshao said this dryly, trying to help Sugu smooth things over. Sugu, you can choose again, so that I can report it to the teacher again. Sugu nodded lightly and continued. I alone pick them all. The corners of Yu Kunshao's mouth twitched, and he no longer knew what to say. As a referee, it is not convenient to interfere with the players' choices now, so they can only honestly send Sugu's reply to the teachers on their mobile phones. Ha, good. It's crazy, I like it. General Yin immediately patted his thigh and said after looking at Sugu's choice. Lan Qing and Cheng Ziwen also had expressions of appreciation on their faces. Whether you can do it or not is one thing, but whether you dare to do it is another. They admired this warrior spirit of daring to make breakthroughs and challenges. How arrogant. On the floating spaceship, the woman in the school board of directors snorted coldly and said, the abilities of warriors from different professions will complement each other. Once they are united, how can it be as simple as 1 plus 1? You're so young and you have some skills, do you really think you're invincible? The 2-meter-old man said with equal disdain, since he wants to fight, let him fight. As a student, it would be better if he learned a lesson, otherwise he would not know the heights of the world. He wanted to kill someone during the freshman competition. He was indeed too arrogant. He should be given a good beating. Otherwise, he would have to go to college for 4 years, and he wouldn't know how much trouble he would cause to the school. Star Force Brigade, don't leave this student. Quote, soon, the school board unanimously approved Sugu's request. 1 vs 1-2. You can fight. The school board and the principal approved Sugu's proposal at the same time. When the news spread, the students who were watching the fight were in an uproar. Crazy, crazy. This is equivalent to a single warrior fighting a team of warriors, and they are all at the same level. I really don't know how to win. Open the market, start betting again. This time, bet on how many minutes Su Jiyu can hold on in the hands of this group of people. Yu Kunshao, who was standing in the middle of the two sides of the ring, looked at the news with a complicated expression. He couldn't figure out why Su Jiyu did this. Was he anxious to make enemies in the school? Standing in the middle, he could clearly feel that the anger of the 12 people was getting stronger and stronger. They looked at Su Jiyu with eyes that wished they could eat him alive. They were all warriors, and they were all young talents admitted to Starry Sky Martial Arts University. We admit that they are stronger than us, but such behavior is treating us as drunkards who can be dismissed at will. How much do you look down on us? Facing the anger of these people, Su Jiyu still had a faint smile on his face, looking relaxed and calm. Yu Kunshao stood in the middle, his hands raised and fell. The battle begins. When Yu Kunshao's voice of starting the battle just sounded, the 3 representatives of the Long Range Academy, led by Wu Zhen, immediately raised their long-range weapons and fired at Su Jiyu. If Su Jiyu used the slash that eliminated Zhan Yu in one encounter, they would lose. The rapid shooting of these 3 people was to prevent Su Jiyu from drawing his sword. It really worked. In order to avoid the bullets, Su Jiyu paused for a moment to draw his sword. With an extremely strange step, he avoided the blow to the vitals and only suffered some scratches in the rain of bullets. After the rapid shooting lasted for 2 seconds, Wu Zhen, who was holding a longbow, stopped suppressing the firepower, and the bow and arrow in his hand began to accumulate and stack soul power. On the empty bowstring, a light arrow shining with soul power gradually began to condense. The light arrow flickered, like a beating heart. The power contained in it kept stacking as time went by, and the direction of the arrow pointed directly at Su Jiyu. A-level combat skill, the arrow of condensed light. Feeling the threat from the arrow, Su Gu's eyebrows slightly raised, he turned his steps and began to try to rush forward to kill the range. But at this moment, how could the remaining 9 melee warriors let him do what he wanted? The heavy armor and the warriors fought with him alternately in pairs. The 3 assassins formed a horn shape with each other, and once Su Jiyu showed the slightest flaw, they would assassinate him mercilessly. The remaining 2 ranged saw that the vital shooting was ineffective, and in order not to interfere with their teammates, they began to predict and blockade shooting. The rest of the people began to oppress Su Jiyu, forcing him to show his flaws. This was the first time for the 12 people to cooperate, but as the best students of Starry Sky Martial Arts University this year, they showed amazing fighting qualities at this moment. Su Gu's provocation made the anger in their hearts vent out without reservation in the battle. Dang, dong, ping, pong, bang. Su Jiyu held a knife and faced the alternating attacks of these people. Even though he used exquisite moves to avoid the blows to the fatal parts, he still seemed a little helpless at this time. Su Jiyu lost. The audience were all young warriors. Looking at the appearance of both sides on the ring, they quickly made a judgment. When warriors of different professional attributes cooperate with each other, it is not as simple as 1 + 1. Wu Zhen's condensed light arrow is about to condense to the limit. The power of this arrow is not inferior to high-intensity explosives at all, and the range is extremely wide, and it can be used for tracking shooting. The only disadvantage is that it takes too long to accumulate soul power, and with Wu Zhen's ability, he cannot move when accumulating and superimposing soul power. It is impossible for him to condense to this extent in a normal battle. Su Jiyu is too arrogant to do things relying on his own ability. He provokes 12 people by himself. This can be said to be looking down on all the warriors of our Xingwu University this year. Now he has suffered such a big loss, and he deserves it. Now let's bet on how long Su Jiyu can hold on. The result will come out soon. The various discussions of the audience naturally reached the ears of Yu Kunshao, the referee. He looked at Su Jiyu with a complicated expression on his face. At this moment, he looked like he was still suppressed, and there was really no hope of victory. What on earth is he doing? Picking so many people at once, isn't this just looking for trouble? Is Su Jiyu really going to lose? Lan Qing looked at the 2 students beside him and said slowly. The lion roaring 10,000 tigers sword is not a combat skill that can be instantly used. Unless Su Jiyu has mastered the proficiency of other A-level combat skills to a very high level, the possibility of winning is really small. Chang Ziwen said calmly. There was a hint of apology and regret on his face. It seemed that when he talked with Su Jiyu yesterday, he let him win the undisputed first place, which put too much pressure on him. Otherwise, why would he make such an irrational move today? If he was really eliminated like this, with the nature of those people in the school board, maybe the next Star Air Brigade would reject him. Have you mastered the proficiency of other A-level combat skills to a very high level? Lan Qing showed a bitter smile on his face. This lion-roaring 10,000 tigers sword was learned before he was admitted to university, and he should have been honing it for a long time. With Su Gu's family, this should be the only A-level combat skill he has. Although Su Jiyu went to the Thousand Layers Pagoda of Martial Arts before school started. But it was less than a month. How far can the new A-level combat skills be developed in such a short time? Don't draw conclusions so early. General Yin interrupted the two people's thoughts, and he looked at the top of the ring with a sharp gaze. Although he is still at a disadvantage, he still has confidence in Su Jiyu. At this moment on the ring, Xiao Junjian, a special recruit of the Assassin Academy, Sun Shungjin, a special recruit of the Warrior Academy, and Lu Guang, a heavy armored warrior, suppressed Su Jiyu in a round-robin battle. But the three of them joined forces, and with the assistance of two long-range warriors using firepower, they still couldn't get any advantage from Su Jiyu. Even as time went on, they felt that their suppression of Su Jiyu became more and more difficult. This monster actually completed the adaptation in such a short time. If it continues to drag on, this person may really turn the tables. Unfortunately, you should never, ever, challenge all of us directly. Wu Zhen's arrow of condensed light is almost complete. The speed of this arrow can catch up with the assassin, and the power is enough to blast the heavy shield of the heavy armor with one blow. Without any means of defense, you are doomed to lose. Xiao Junjian looked at Su Jiyu and said coldly. He had the most arrogant character. Seeing that he couldn't defeat Su Jiyu in close combat even if they joined forces, he felt humiliated. But fortunately, the final victory still belonged to them. Don't think you have some ability and look down on others. As long as we want, we can still deal with you. This time, I will send you to the martial arts hospital for a few days. Sun Shungjin and Lu Guang also said. Although they couldn't defeat Su Jiyu in close combat, fortunately, Wu Zhen's arrow of condensed light had been charged. As long as Su Jiyu was hit by this arrow head-on, the final victory would definitely be theirs. Facing this seemingly desperate scene, Su Jiyu still had a relaxed smile on his face at this moment. Looking at the smile on his face, the hearts of the three people tightened at the same time. Old Sun, Old Lu, you stay and continue to contain him, even if you are hit by the arrow of condensed light together. You must ensure that he takes this arrow head-on, as long as you can ensure that he is seriously injured. Next, I will definitely be able to finish him off. Xiao Junjian commanded loudly at this moment. Sun Shungjin and Lu Guangjun nodded. Just as Xiao Junjian was about to use his assassin's body skills to retreat, Wu Zhen loosened the bowstring in his right hand. Facing the suppression of the two special recruits of the Warrior and the Heavy Armor Academy, Su Jiyu leisurely commented, "Good tactics." The three of them were immediately alarmed, but it was too late. Su Gu's left hand suddenly touched the blade, and the blade began to tremble slightly in an instant, and began to emit a faint light. Then a roar like a beast in ancient times sounded on the blade. The terrifying roar was even more powerful than the one he slashed at Zhan Yu. Lion roaring tiger blade. How is it possible? This combat skill can't be instantly cast. Principal Chang Ziwen said with wide eyes, incredulous. Old, you are surprised by what you have seen before. Su Gu's sword has no killing power at all. He abandoned the killing power of the lion roaring 10,000 tiger sword and only left the sound of this fighting skill as a sonic fighting skill. General Yin said casually, but his eyes were already full of heat. I didn't expect that the degraded fighting skill spread from him would be developed to this level by one of his juniors. If it weren't for the busy military affairs, he would have really thought of accepting a disciple. Ah! The close-range sound whistle seemed to ring a brass bell in the ears of the three people, and they felt a tearing pain in their ears. They couldn't help but cover their ears. And the terrifying sonic fighting skill also affected Wu Zhen, who was aiming at Su Jiyu. The look on his face was absent-minded for a moment. And in that moment of absent-mindedness, Su Jiyu directly knocked down the soldier Sun Shungjin and took the spear in his hand. Then he threw it directly in the direction of Wu Zhen like throwing a javelin. Wu Zhen's face tightened, and he looked at the spear that was coming at him, and madness gradually appeared in his eyes. At this last moment, he chose to aim at Su Jiyu without dodging. He loosened the bowstring, and the shining arrow of light shot out, and at the same time the spear pierced his shoulder. The arrow of condensed light has been shot out, and we won in the end. Wu Zhen's shoulder was pierced with blood, but his face was full of morbid madness. Although Su Gu's final counterattack was unexpected, the victory belonged to them after all. He didn't believe that this arrow condensed by a long-range warrior could be resisted by a warrior. The blue light arrow, shining with the color of ice crystals, rushed towards Su Jiyu in an instant. It should be said that it was worthy of being the last blow. If it was hit head-on, it might be a little hurt. It was quite difficult. At the moment when Su Jiyu had this thought in his mind, the light arrow pointed directly at the point between his eyebrows at a speed not slower than his thoughts. Whoosh! Just when the light arrow was about to hit, Su Gu's figure disappeared. Sea-level combat skill, instant step. He appeared behind the light arrow as if he had completed a small-scale space transfer in an instant. Did you avoid the attack? As a referee, Yu Kunshao looked at the situation on the field and felt a little nervous. In his heart, he silently cheered for Su Jiyu. No, Su Jiyu. My Ningguang arrow is a directional attack that can be tracked. As long as it starts to point at you, it will hit. Wu Zhen fell to the ground with some effort after his shoulder was pierced and his soul power was exhausted. But his eyes contained the excitement of welcoming victory. Although Su Gu's assassin's footwork surprised him, the reason why the instant step, which can move at high speed over a short distance, is a sea-level skill is because it consumes too much physical energy. If used multiple times, the legs cannot bear such a great pressure. This step cannot be used as a regular step at all. Generally, even assassins use this skill as a last-ditch attack after approaching the target, focusing on an unexpected attack. In his opinion, Su Jiyu has been forced to use this trick to dodge, which is the end of his tricks. The arrow of condensed light turned 90 degrees in the air without slowing down, automatically readjusted the angle, and flew towards Su Jiyu again. Feeling the fatal arrow flying towards his back, Su Gu's face did not change, and then his figure disappeared again. Another instant step, he once again threw the flying light arrow behind him. Su Jiyu, I want to see how long you can hide. Wu Zhen roared. Even a real assassin cannot use this kind of extremely consuming step fighting skill many times. What Su Jiyu is doing now is nothing more than delaying time and struggling to death. How many more times can he use it? 4 or 5 times, this is almost the limit. What about next? The winner will still be us. The flying arrow is like a stream of light, chasing Su Gu's figure on the entire ring. And facing the fast-attacked arrow, Su Jiyu has only one way to face it. Instant step, or instant step. Gradually, the smile on Wu Zhen's face disappeared. On the ring, the arrow and Su Jiyu, in the pursuit and escape, merged into a phantom of light. 8 times, 10 times, 20 times. How many times did Su Jiyu use instant step in this process? At first, Wu Zhen would count, but soon he couldn't count anymore. Wouldn't his feet be disabled? Wu Zhen gradually had a bad premonition in his heart. Ah! Soon, a scream came from the phantom of the stream of light. That cry made the audience, who had been watching Su Jiyu dodging, suddenly startled. A warrior holding a small round shield and a battle axe was knocked down by Su Jiyu when he dodged the arrow. When he was chased by the full-strength attack of the ranged warrior, he still had the energy to deal with the opponent. Many people rubbed their eyes in disbelief and pinched their thighs to confirm whether they were dreaming. But obviously, this was not a dream. Screams came one after another, and one melee warrior after another was dealt with by Su Jiyu when he dodged the attack. Wu Zhen's expression became dull. He didn't know how to face the situation in front of him. He stared blankly at the light in front of him. He didn't remember how long it had been, but he saw Su Jiyu slowly walking towards him at the end. He no longer used instant steps, and walked very slowly, and the light arrow that was piercing his heart flew even slower. At this moment, the light of the arrow has become dim, and even its shape has become illusory. The arrow and the man are about to collide, and this scene is like a slow-motion videotape. And when the arrow is 3 centimeters away from Sugu's heart, it is like glass that has been hit by a heavy hammer, shaking unsteadily in the air, and began to produce fine cracks. Snap! Like a porcelain falling to the ground, the arrow of light shattered and dissipated into a ball of light particles in the air. Wu Zhen looked at this scene, and his scattered eyes focused a little. He thought about how to crack his arrow of death many times in his head, and in fact many people have done it. But he never imagined that someone could rely on speed to consume the power of his arrow of light. As a force-sensitive warrior, this speed is already beyond the standard, and many assassins cannot do this. Wu Zhen thought expressionlessly. Continue. Su Jiyu used the back of the knife to stick to the back of Wu Zhen's neck. Wu Zhen looked around, and all the people in his camp fell except himself. He sighed and said unwillingly, "I give up." The whole place was silent. Among the 12 people fighting against Su Jiyu, some were heirs of small families. They had been trained in martial arts resources that others could not imagine since childhood, and they had a promising future. Others were civilians who had the ability to change their fate by relying on their own strong martial arts talents and were admitted to Xingwu University from a small town. These 12 people are all outstanding. When they graduate from Xingwu University in the future, they will quickly squeeze into the upper class of a city. And now these 12 people were defeated by one person, and in such a crushing manner. The students watching this battle were speechless at this moment. The whole scene was only the running and whistling of floating ambulances. Apart from that, there was no other noise. Yu Kunshao, the referee, looked at Su Jiyu and swallowed his saliva suddenly. Although he had some vague feelings when they first met, he still felt it very clearly when he saw it with his own eyes. This is a monster. The expression on his face was a little dazed. Su Jiyu was still my junior, younger than me. But now it seems that if I fight him, he can kill me in an instant. Is this the difference between people? Facing the eyes of the people around him, Su Gu's expression was indifferent, as if what he had just done was just some insignificant things. He turned around and looked in the direction of Lan Qing and his group of 3. Cheng Ziwen noticed Su Gu's gaze. He rolled down the window of the hovercraft in the sky and showed Su Jiyu an admiring look. This kid is really good. Even if he can't completely crush Feng Yan, I must fight for his request in front of the school board. Cheng Ziwen said admiringly. His words were also agreed by Lan Qing and General Yin. Although as a warrior, his means of attacking the enemy are a bit single, and he only masters 1A level combat skill. But the combat qualities shown in this battle and the development and application of combat skills are more important than learning a lot of combat skills. And what is the most lacking in Starry Sky Martial Arts University? That is combat skills. Soon, Su Gu's shortcoming will be made up. It's okay, they didn't see anything. Su Jiyu looked at the eyes of the 3 people looking at him, full of encouragement and praise, but other than that, he didn't show too much shock and disbelief. This made him secretly relieved. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.